Chapter 346. Yuan Lin was Huang Yida's, and Jiang Qin was Guanu's. This was a tacit understanding between the two of them. It was precisely because the two of them liked different people and had the same direction of effort that the relationship between the two of them was getting better and better. It was no longer like before the arrival of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, who looked down on each other and secretly fought with each other. They were both the personal disciples of teacher Mao Xianping. With this relationship alone, they had an advantage over others. The most important thing was that Guanu's father was Guo Qinyun, a famous domestic film and television star, and his mother was Li Xiaoying, a folk singer. Huang Yida didn't know where he came from, but he usually didn't put Guanu in his eyes. Obviously, his family background was not simple. They were talented, good-looking, born in a famous family, and had a famous teacher. Wasn't it natural for such a boy to be a little proud? They had confidence in themselves, and they knew that they would eventually be able to win the girl's heart. If a relationship happened between a fellow apprentice and a sister, wouldn't it be a good story? However, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were very vigilant. They maintained a respectful but not close friendship with them. The two of them had asked Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin countless times to eat together, go shopping together, and watch a movie together, but they were all rejected. The only time they succeeded was when they went to the concert of the famous Italian band Forest, which was led by teacher Mao Xianping. Of course, after the concert, they also tried to invite them to eat crayfish and drink beer alone. Jiang Qin said that she didn't like crayfish, so she refused. They also suspected that Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin had a boyfriend, but after careful observation and analysis, they found that there was no sign of a relationship at all. First, the phone did not ring for a long time, and there would not be frequent messages. Second, the two of them were alone after school and on weekends, and they didn't see any suspicious people. Third, they were still virgins. This was a smell, a femininity. Ordinary people didn't understand, but they understood. Now that they heard that a good friend was coming, they didn't take the good friend too seriously. If only one of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin was happy, then either Guanu or Huang Yida would be worried. But they were both so happy at the same time that they were not worried at all. It was impossible for two people to fall in love with the same man, right? The reason why they insisted on treating was not because of jealousy, but simply because they wanted to show their superiority in front of their good friend. Huang Yida looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin and said, "We're all on the same side. Is there any inconvenience?" Jiang Qin was very embarrassed and said, "My friend, he's a bit shy and doesn't know how to talk in front of strangers. We didn't tell him that we're bringing new friends. What if he's unhappy? Senior brother, why don't we meet again next time?" Guanu laughed and said, "First time is new, second time is familiar. How about this? We'll treat the both of you to a meal. After the meal, if he's still not familiar with us, Ida and I will leave first. We definitely won't disturb the reunion between your friends. What do you think?" "That's not good, is it?" There's nothing wrong." Huang Yida interrupted Jiang Qin's words and said, "We'll listen to senior brother this time. Your friend is here, how can we, as big brothers, not help to entertain him? Don't feel embarrassed, just do it this way. Where is that friend? Let's go and greet him first, then treat him to the best roast duck in Yanjing. Of course, if you have better recommendations, you can tell me. Don't think about saving money for senior brother." Fang Yan sat in the car and listened to music. He didn't pay much attention to a black Mercedes-Benz parked beside him. When he saw Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin get out of the car, he smiled and opened the window. He said with a smile, "The treatment in school is not bad. You even have a luxury car?" Jiang Qin was worried that Fang Yan would be angry. He carefully looked at Fang Yan and said, "Mr. Fang, they are our senior brothers. They said they want to treat you to a meal." Looking at Guanu and Huang Yida, who opened the door and got out of the car, Fang Yan waved at them and said to Jiang Qin with a smile, "When did my character become so good?" Guanu walked in front of Fang Yan and looked at the logo on Fang Yan's car, as well as the plain license plate number. His confidence increased a lot again. He said, "I'm Guanu. Jiang Qin and I are both teacher Mao Xianping students. What's your name?" He could see that Fang Yan was older than him and Huang Yida. Naturally, he was much older than Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. It seemed that this person was Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin's brother, Fang Yan. Fang Yan reached out and shook hands with Guanu and said, Jiang Qin said that you want to treat me to a meal. You're too polite. It's what we should do, Guanu said with a smile. We are Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin's senior brother and junior sister. We were going to take them out to play today and treat them to a big meal. We heard that you're here, so let's go together. It's more lively with more people. Fang Yan didn't care. To be honest, he could see that the two boys were interested in Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. It was normal for such a thing to happen at this age. As the former teacher of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, he could only tell them not to fall in love at such a young age. But if they had their own ideas, Fang Yan couldn't force them. Besides, although he promised to take Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin around Yanjing, in fact, he hadn't been to Yanjing at all. If there were these two attentive boys leading the way, Fang Yan would feel that the burden on his shoulders would be a lot lighter. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, and the two girls secretly winked at him. He understood what they meant. Thank you for your invitation, Fang Yan said. With a kind and gentle smile on his face, he tried to use words that wouldn't hurt other people's self-esteem. I really appreciate it. But today is not suitable. I'm going to take them home for dinner. The elders in my family have already prepared it at home. Why don't we make an appointment next time? Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin squinted their eyes and smiled. Guanu and Huang Yida's faces showed a touch of anger. When Jiang Qin turned to look at Guanu and Huang Yida, the smile on her face had turned into an apologetic one. She said guiltily, Two senior brothers, I'm really sorry. Why don't we make an appointment next time? There are still many opportunities anyway. Let's go to Fang's house for dinner. It may not be very convenient. Guanu glanced at Huang Yida and knew that he had no intention to speak, so he said aloud, In that case, forget it. Let's make an appointment next time. Goodbye, senior brother. Jiang Qin waved to Guanu and Huang Yida, pulled open the passenger seat next to Fang Yan and sat down. Yuan Lin also wanted to sit in the passenger seat, but it was a step too late. She also waved to Guanu and Huang Yida and said, Senior brother, I'm really sorry today. Then she opened the rear door and sat down. See you if there's a chance. Fang Yan said goodbye to Guanu and Huang Yida and drove his classic car away. When Fang Yan and his party walked away, the smile on Guanu's face gradually froze. She turned to look at Huang Yida and asked, What do you think? Such an obvious refusal and you still can't see it. Do you think we are idiots? Huang Yida said coldly. Those two bitches are deliberately playing with us. It doesn't matter if they play with us, but if they provoke us to play with them, then they will suffer. Guanu was also very dissatisfied with the performance of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin and said, What are they so proud of? Beautiful women? There is no lack of beautiful women in this world. What should we do now? First, find out who that person is, and then find out what's going on. What do you mean? Anyway, we have nothing to do today. Let's go out for a walk. Huang Yida said. Guanu laughed and said, That's true. Let's go out for a walk. I really haven't had a good look at Yanjing City after it snowed. Fang Yan was driving while joking with Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, and said, Both of them are handsome, don't you like them? Who likes them? Jiang Qin said, curling his lips. They are all naive little kids. Not mature at all. Yuan Lin also echoed. Fang Yan was amused by their words and said, Other people are naive little kids, but you two are not naive? Of course we are not naive, we are mature. Yuan Lin said. Mr. Fang, where are you going to take us? Where do you want to go? Fang Yan asked. You are from Yanjing, of course we will listen to your arrangements. Yuan Lin said, pouting. Fang Yan thought about it and said, Let's go eat first. What do you want to eat? We will listen to your arrangements, the two girls said at the same time. I am most afraid of the words listen to my arrangements, Fang Yan said helplessly. He really didn't know much about food, and he usually didn't like to eat out. Fang Yan put forward several choices, and finally the two girls agreed to eat Yanjing City's special copper stove hot pot. Each of them had a small copper pot, and then they put meat and vegetables into the pot. Eating hot pot in this kind of weather was also suitable. Fang Yen found a relatively famous hot pot restaurant, then stopped the car and walked into the hot pot restaurant with the two girls. As soon as they entered the restaurant, a black Mercedes-Benz followed them and parked the car in front of the restaurant. Guanyu and Huang Yida also opened the door and got out of the car, then walked into the hot pot restaurant. They actually followed them all the way here. On the main road in front of the hot pot restaurant, a black Buick off-road vehicle was parked. Sitting in the car was a man in black wearing sunglasses. He looked at the antique door of the hot pot restaurant and said, "Fang Yen has entered the capital." Fang Huahua entered Sifang City, startling several beauties in the snow. Chapter 347. In the sizzling hot pot, thin slices of mutton, duck blood, vermicelli, bean sprouts, frozen tofu, and emperor's dish were put in, accompanied by garlic soy sauce or peanut butter. The hot pot was delicious. Fang Yen, Jiang Qin, and Wang Lin were sweating profusely. The three discussed the afternoon itinerary while eating, and the final result of the discussion was to go to Mount Tangshan to soak in the hot spring. Of course, this was decided by the two little girls, Jiang Qin and Wang Lin. Fang Yen originally proposed to go to the zoo or aquarium so that they could laugh for a long time. "What era is it now? You still want to take girls to the zoo?" Fang Yen told them very seriously that he only regarded them as children, not as girls. The two girls went crazy together and kicked Fang Yen several times under the table. This scene made Guanyu and Huang Yida in the distance even angrier. In their eyes, these three people were clearly flirting. They usually pretend to be saints, but now look at their debauchery, Guanyu sneered. It seems that their relationship is not simple. Huang Yida's eyes were also full of sparks, and he said angrily, "Previously, for the sake of the same teacher, we took care of them. Now it seems that our performance is still too gentle. Yes, we should use some different means. Otherwise, they will treat us as a poor spare tire." Guanyu said, "What's the way on senior brother's side?" Huang Yida came a few days earlier than Guanyu, and he was the first disciple of Mao Xianping. Guanyu came a little later than him, so he called him senior brother. "There is a way, but which one to take? It depends on their performance and my mood," Huang Yida said in a sarcastic tone. Now it seems that the kid has a lot of means. One dragon and two phoenixes, enjoying the happiness of the world. I have to admire him. Who said that just now? He said that he is shy in front of strangers, and I'm afraid that he can't even speak. Now it seems that he doesn't look like he can't speak in front of strangers at all. The words, "one dragon and two phoenixes," completely infuriated Guanyu. He sneered and said, "Then I'll wait to watch a good show. This is Yanjing City, we can't be bullied by a little tramp that popped out of nowhere." "Bully? I've tasted everything, but I don't know what it's like to be bullied. I really want to try it. Maybe that kid has a big background. When we go up to teach him a lesson, he suddenly reveals his identity and gives us a show of strength. Then, we brothers will have kicked an iron plate." At that time, senior brother had a taste of being bullied. "The story is not bad. It's just a story," Huang Yida said confidently. In this four-corner city, his father's position was not very prominent, but it was very important. There were people who were more powerful than his father, but he was definitely not a guy who drove a red flag from decades ago to pick up girls. Guanyu had always been curious about Huang Yida's origin. He asked again, "Senior brother, your family, what is it? If there's any money-making business, I'll have to help junior brother out." "Our family doesn't do business. We're just servants of the people. We can't compare to your parents, who are big stars," Huang Yida said lightly. Although he said that his parents couldn't compare to Guanyu's parents who were stars, there was no "can't compare" attitude on his face at all. The people's servants are good. The public servants are great," Guanyu said with a smile. Guanyu was still very satisfied with Huang Yida's answer. Although his answer was not too clear, he had already guessed it. The people's servants were full of arrogance and often did not put him in their eyes. Could they be regarded as ordinary people's servants? If they didn't reach that level, they were not qualified to be shameless and arrogant in front of him. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, Fang Yen paid the bill, and the three drove to Mount Tang, which was near Yanjing. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, Fang Yan paid the bill and the three drove to Mount Tang, which was located near Yanjing. Although it was Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin who proposed to soak in the hot spring, Fang Yan also thought it was a good idea. On this snowy day, they could find a hot spring to soak in the afternoon, drink a glass of grape juice or cold plum wine, and let the two little beauties massage his back and shoulders. Thinking of this, Fang Yan was still looking forward to it. Mount Tang was full of hot springs, but the most famous one was the first-class hot spring. The first-class hot spring had a very long history. It was said that an emperor of the Ming dynasty liked to soak in the hot spring here during the summer. The first-class hot spring was also named by the emperor himself. Later, after many renovations and expansions, the first-class hot spring became the largest and most luxurious hot spring villa in the Mount Tang area. After parking the car in the parking lot of the first-class hot spring, the three walked to the reception hall. A beautiful receptionist wearing a peony cheongsam greeted them with a smile and asked if the three wanted to go to the public area to soak or a private courtyard to soak. Fang Yan thought about it and said, "Then let's get a private courtyard." He simply thought that there was no need to squeeze with a group of people in a big bathhouse. On the one hand, it made him feel that it was not very hygienic, and another important reason was that he did not want to become the object of envy or hostility again because he brought two beautiful girls in the crowd. Besides, he was now well off and had hundreds of millions of cash in his card, so he did not need to care about the extra expenses. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at Fang Yan with red faces. Obviously, they had some unnecessary misunderstanding about Fang Yan. "Please follow me." The receptionist looked at Fang Yan, and then looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin who came with him. She thought that this man was really lucky. The private courtyard was actually an independent courtyard. There were rooms and a living room in the courtyard where one could wash and rest. There was also a huge hot spring pool. Three sides of the courtyard were surrounded by walls, and one side was covered by a dense bamboo forest. Outside the bamboo forest was Mount Tang. Even standing on the top of Mount Tang, one could not see the scene in the courtyard. There was still snow in the courtyard, and in the middle of the white snow lay a hot spring pool that was steaming. Lying in the pool, a person could reach out and catch a snowflake. This feeling was really wonderful. Jiang Qin reached out and touched the water in the hot spring pool. He said happily, "It's so hot. It must be very comfortable." Yuan Lin also reached out and touched it. She said, "I really want to jump in." "Then let's jump in," Fang Yan said with a smile. The two girls were happy, and he was also in a good mood. "In your dreams?" Jiang Qin rolled his eyes at Fang Yan. "Pervert," Yuan Lin echoed. Fang Yan did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Didn't the two of you say you want to jump in?" Jiang Qin said with a sad face. "Mr. Fang, we forgot something very important." "What is it?" "We forgot to bring swimsuits," Jiang Qin said. "Then what should we do?" Fang Yan said awkwardly. "Do you want me to buy it for you?" "There's no need," Jiang Qin said with a red face. "I saw a shop in the lobby just now. We should be able to buy swimsuits there. Yuan Lin and I will go by ourselves." Fang Yan realized that although he had always treated Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin as children, they were actually not children. These small personal items had to be bought by themselves. Fang Yan nodded and said, "Then you guys go." Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin went shopping. Fang Yan tested the water temperature. It was indeed a bit hot. But in this snowy weather, if the temperature was not high enough, it was easy to freeze. Fang Yan thought that he should quickly take off his clothes and jump into the hot spring before the two girls came back. It would save him the embarrassment of changing in front of them. Fang Yan thought of this and did it. He quickly took off his clothes, leaving only a pair of briefs. Then he found a pair of disposable shorts in the room and put them on. This should be the clothes provided by the hotel for the guests to soak in the hot spring. Just as he was about to boil a cup of water to make a pot of tea, he heard the voices of the two girls in the courtyard. He did not bother to boil the tea. He quickly ran to the backyard and jumped into the hot spring. Whoosh! Water splashed everywhere. Whoosh! Hot air boiled. Fang Yan let out a long sigh of relief. He felt that all the pores on his body had opened up. This feeling was quite wonderful. Hearing the sound of water in the backyard, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin quickly ran over. Seeing Fang Yan soaking in the hot spring, they said, "Mr. Fang, you soaked in first?" Fang Yan's body shrank in the hot spring. Only his head was exposed. He said, "I came in first to help you test the temperature." "Then we'll also go and change clothes," said Jiang Qin. "Mr. Fang, don't peek," Yuan Lin said with a chuckle. "What kind of person do you think I am?" Fang Yan said angrily. "You're so young but full of mischief. What's there to see?" Fang Yan leaned his head against the stone wall at the edge of the hot spring and closed his eyes to take a nap. This was indeed a place for people to relax. After an unknown period of time, Jiang Qin's voice was heard. The girl's voice was soft and timid. She said, "Mr. Fang, can you close your eyes first?" "Close my eyes?" Fang Yan thought for a moment. He had already closed his eyes. However, after being reminded by Jiang Qin, he opened his eyes and glanced at the room. He said, "What's wrong? Why do you want me to close my eyes?" "Mr. Fang, don't peek." Yuan Lin's body was hidden behind the curtain. Only her small head was peeking out. Seeing Fang Yan open his eyes and look around, she immediately shouted mercilessly. "I didn't look. I didn't look." Fang Yan quickly explained. In order to prove his innocence, he buried his whole head in the hot spring. He held his breath for a long time. When he felt that the air in his chest had been used up, he suddenly drilled out of the pool. Then he saw two little mermaids in swimsuits sitting on the other side of the pool and looking at him with a smile. Chapter 348. A girl's mind was more meticulous. Jiang Qin not only bought a swimsuit, but also a bottle of red wine. Yuan Lin took 2 goblets from the wine cabinet and said to Fang Yan, "There are only 2 glasses. Of course, it's for me and honey, you can use the teacup." So Fang Yan held the teacup and drank the red wine. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin clinked their glasses together and said, "Cheers." They gulped down the red wine in their glasses and giggled. "I'm so happy." Jiang Qin stretched out her body and leaned her beautiful head against the wall of the pool. She said, "How nice it would be to be like this every day." Yuan Lin lay next to Jiang Qin and said, "If it's like this every day, you don't want to learn music? You don't want to play the piano? You don't want to learn the zither?" "I'm just saying," Jiang Qin said with a sigh. "I don't really want to do that. If we slack off all day, Sister Xia Tian will be worried." "Exactly. We go sightseeing all day and soak in the hot spring. Didn't Sister Xia Tian spend so much effort on us for nothing?" Jiang Qin looked at Fang Yan and asked, "Mr. Fang, are you still going to Huaqing next year?" Fang Yan nodded. "Why not?" "I've always felt strange." Jiang Qin looked at Fang Yan with a puzzled look and said, "You can obviously do more things. Why do you have to be a teacher?" "Because I'm an ultimate teacher," Fang Yan said. "What else can you do if not be a teacher? You're so good at martial arts. You can be a bodyguard for a big shot. You can also open a martial arts school. There will be many people learning martial arts from you. You're good-looking and know Tai Chi. Even Sister Xia Tian wants to shoot a music video with you. You can enter the film industry. You can do many things." Fang Yan sipped the red wine in his teacup and said, "Since I can do a lot of things, why can't I be a teacher? Wouldn't that be a higher salary?" Yuan Lin asked curiously. "I can understand. Mr. Fang has great ideals and integrity. He wants to teach and educate people and have students all over the world. However, didn't Mr. Fang need to think about making money? You have to live, you have to raise a family, you will have a wife and children in the future. I'm sure you won't believe me if I say this," Fang Yan said seriously. "I'm a man who treats money like dirt." Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin couldn't believe it. Especially Yuan Lin. Mr. Fang had accepted her mother's bribe to tutor her in order to save money for a meal. "I'm not lying," Fang Yan said with a smile. "I have hundreds of millions in my card. Tell me, if money isn't shit to me, what is it?" Both of them felt that Fang Yan was bragging or going crazy. How could he have hundreds of millions? Hundreds of millions of people rented in urban villages and took the bus to and from work every day to eat in the school cafeteria? Besides, how could a high school teacher save so much money? It was impossible to save for a lifetime without eating or drinking, right? Mr. Fong, stop joking. That's right. We don't mind you being poor. Okay, let's not talk about money, Jiangqin said. It's embarrassing to talk about this kind of topic with an old man. Mr. Fong, do you have a girlfriend? No, Fang Yan said. Why are you asking about this? That, Senior Qin Etienne that we met last time, is she not related to you? Jiang Qin blinked his big innocent eyes and asked expectantly. Fang Yan took the students of Class 9 to the urban village to learn the text, Alley in the Rain. As a result, Qin Etienne had blisters all over her feet after acting as the lilac girl for a whole day. She couldn't even walk. Fang Yan took her to a roadside milk tea shop to apply medicine, but they were discovered by a group of young girls nearby. These young girls told Jiang Qin about Fang Yan applying medicine for Qin Etienne, so Jiang Qin suspected that Fang Yan and Qin Etienne had an ambiguous relationship. Qin Etienne, Fang Yan's smile became bitter. I should go and see her. Ever since they parted in Huaqing, they hadn't seen each other again. Also, when he got off the plane back to Yanjing this time, there were two groups of people who wanted to take him away. He believed that one of them should be Qin Etienne's people, or should he say that they were related to Qin Etienne? There was no inexplicable hatred in this world, but there was inexplicable love. Mr. Fong, what did you say? Jiang Qin looked at Fang Yan in confusion and said, Did you two quarrel? Fang Yan didn't have the mood to talk anymore and said, I'm a bit sleepy, I'm going to lie down and sleep for a while. The two young girls were like two beautiful mermaids swimming around in the hot spring pool. Fang Yan lay on the stone wall to rest, thinking about something, and unknowingly fell asleep. When he woke up, the sky was dark, and it was already nighttime. Fang Yan used the hot spring water to wash his face, and asked, What time is it? Jiang Qin and Wang Lin had already left the hot spring pool, and were lying on the lounge chairs under the eaves of the corridor, watching a movie on their phones, wrapped in pajamas and covered with blankets. They were worried that the sound of the movie would disturb Fang Yan, so they both put on headphones. Fang Yan only saw Fang Yan's mouth moving, but he didn't hear what Fang Yan said. Jiang Qin took off his headphones and said with a smile, Mr. Fang, you're awake? What did you say? What time is it? Fang Yan asked. It's past 5 o'clock, Jiang Qin said. You've slept for a few hours. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, Fang Yan said with a guilty expression. Wait for me, I'll get up now. Are you hungry? Let's go back to the city for dinner. After leaving the room, the three of them chatted and laughed as they walked towards the parking lot. When Fang Yan found his old car, he felt like he was struck by lightning. He was really struck by lightning. The body of the car was densely scratched, the lights were broken, the front of the car was dented, and the car had been kicked countless times. There were even muddy watermarks on it. The smile on Fang Yan's face froze, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. This was his grandfather's car, the first car his grandfather ever owned, and the only car his grandfather ever owned. This car had a special meaning to his grandfather, Fang Hui. He knew that his grandfather cherished this car very much. At the time, his father, Fang Yixing, couldn't even borrow it for a single use. Later on, his grandfather's legs were paralyzed, and he couldn't drive anymore. His grandfather then gave the car to Fang Yan for safekeeping and told him to take good care of it. Some people say that a car is a man's second lover. Fang Yan had never had a lover, so he didn't know what it felt like to have one. But Fang Yan now knew very well that he was in a very bad mood. Those scratches weren't on the body of the car, it was more like they were scratched on his face. Those kicks didn't seem to be on the door of the car, but more like they were on his legs. Lustful, Fang Yan said in a cold voice. Those bastards are really lustful. They're willing to do anything. Jiang Qin and Wang Lin's faces were also pale with anger. They didn't expect someone to be so shameless. Hearing the meaning behind Fang Yan's words, Jiang Qin asked, Mr. Fang, do you know who did this? I can guess. Fang Yan said with a sneer, they followed us all the way. We went to eat hot pot, they also went to eat hot pot. We came to Tangshan, they also followed us. They've been sneaking behind us. I thought they were your senior brothers, and you would see them often in the future, so I didn't bother to pay attention to them. I didn't expect them to be so bold and do such a low-class thing. With Fang Yan's ability, how could he not know that someone was following them? And not only Guan Yu and his men were following them, but there was also another group of unidentified people following them. The difference was that Guan Yu and his men's tracking skills were so bad that it was difficult not to find them. But the other group of unidentified people's tracking skills were extremely brilliant. They appeared and disappeared, and they changed cars twice in a row on Tangshan Road. That was to say, at least a group of people were following them. These people were the ones that Fang Yan was really wary of. Guan Yu and his men were just a side character. In Fang Yan's eyes, they were just two big boys who fell in love with a girl in the same class. Whether it was for the sake of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin's future studies, or for the sake of Xiaxia's face, he didn't want to have any disputes with them. He knew that they had arrived at Tangshan, and he also knew that they had arrived at this first-class hot spring. But this first-class hot spring was so big, if they could soak in it, why couldn't others? He didn't expect that they dared to vent their anger on Fang Yan's old car when they couldn't find them. Damn it. Mr. Fang, you mean, it was Guan Yu and his men who did it? Jiang Qin now understood who the murderer was. They followed us to Tangshan? Why would they do that? They usually look quite gentle, but it turns out that they are dogs in sheep's clothing. These two people are so annoying. Yuan Lin also said angrily. Shall we call the police? Arrest them. The parking lot was huge and it was freezing cold, so the security guards rarely patrolled outside. When encountering this kind of thing, they should naturally find the security guards of the first-class hot spring to solve it. The final solution was to pay some money. Fang Yan didn't want to let the two bastards go so easily. He squatted down to check the footprints on the ground, and then began to search forward. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin wrapped their windbreakers tightly and followed behind. Jiang Qin couldn't help but ask, Mr. Fang, what are you looking for? There are so many footprints and even car prints. Can you find them? Would they have run away long ago? After doing such a thing, they can't help but want to see my exasperated look. They probably won't leave now. Fang Yan suppressed the anger in his heart and said, if my guess is right, they won't leave and they are not far from us. Fang Yan walked along the messy footprints for a while, then turned a corner and found the black Mercedes-Benz he had seen at the school gate. Chapter 349. In the huge white snow field, the Mercedes-Benz looked like an ugly monster that was resting. The car didn't turn on the lights, but Guan Yu and Huang Yida sat in the car and didn't leave. Fang Yan's guess was right. They really wanted to see Fang Yan's angry look. Who asked Fang Yan to make them angry first? They set off from the hot pot restaurant, followed all the way to Tangshan, and came to the first-class hot spring that Fang Yan chose. They pretended to be Fang Yan's friends and ran to the front desk to ask where Fang Yan and the other two girls went. Although the receptionist had the duty to protect the privacy of the guests, she didn't tell them the specific room number, but she strongly recommended the private courtyard to them and said that their friends also lived in the private courtyard. Guan Yu and Huang Yida certainly knew what the private courtyard meant, because they had brought other women to experience it before. In that small courtyard, they stripped those women like naked little white sheep. Now two men lived in a private courtyard. What was going on? Guan Yu and Huang Yida were burning with anger. They had the urge to drag Fang Yan out and beat him up. Even Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin hated them. They felt that these two women didn't know how to love themselves. They casually followed a man into the private courtyard known as the Lover's Courtyard. How could they end up well? They couldn't find Fang Yan, but they found Fang Yan's old car. The two couldn't calm down, so they vented their anger on his car. They felt uncomfortable in their hearts, but they couldn't let Fang Yan's life be too easy. They created a little trouble for him, and then hid on the side to watch them make a fool of themselves. They would find a chance to teach the kid a lesson and find a way to push the two girls down on the bed. In their hearts, since Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin didn't know how to love themselves, they didn't deserve their continued love. Their position was just right, so they could sit in the car and see what was going on around the old car. They saw Fang Yan walking over with two girls, talking and laughing. They saw Fang Yan's angry expression, and they saw Fang Yen crawling on the ground to search for them. It had been 3 hours since the car was destroyed, and the business of the first-class hot spring was especially good today. There were cars coming and going in the parking lot, and there was an endless stream of people. The footprints they left a few hours ago had long been crushed by the wheels of the car and trampled by other customers. How did he find his way here? Was he born in the year of the hound? Fang Yen stood outside the car while they sat in the driver's seat and the passenger's seat. They could see Fang Yen outside, and they knew that Fang Yen must have seen them. Fang Yen knocked on the window, and Guanyu had to roll down the window. Because of his guilty conscience, Guanyu wanted to greet Fang Yen naturally, but he couldn't do it. He smiled very reluctantly and said, "Why are you here? We just finished soaking in the hot spring and are about to drive back." Fang Yen looked at Guanyu and Huang Yida expressionlessly and said, "I'd rather you beat me up than run to cut my car." Guanyu's expression was slightly stiff, and he said with a smile, "What are you talking about? I don't quite understand. I'm a smart person, and you're too stupid." "I know it was you who did it," Fang Yen said. "Otherwise, why would I come to you when there are so many cars in this parking lot? Do you have any misunderstanding about us?" Huang Yida said lazily. Since they had fallen out, he was not going to give Fang Yen any face. His prince's disease came back again, and he said arrogantly and coldly, "It's the first time we've met, and we're not very familiar with each other, so, Guanyu, drive. Don't waste time on some ignorant people." Guanyu smiled and said, "Goodbye." They were very calm, and didn't even look at Jiangqin and Yuan Lin, who were staring at them angrily. Jiangqin grabbed the window and shouted angrily, "Guanyu, do you have any shame? Why did you smash other people's cars? Did Brother Fang offend you?" "Exactly. I used to think you were good people, but I didn't expect you to do such a shameless thing." Yuan Lin stood on the side and said, "Do you like us? If you like him, then be brave and chase him. If you can challenge Brother Fang like a man, I will look up to you. Don't you feel ashamed that you only know how to do such sneaky things? Even dogs despise such men. Don't be so ungrateful." Guanyu's face became gloomy. "Who do you think you are? Like you? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? You're just two peasant girls. If it weren't for senior sister Xia, who would care about you? The Academy of Music is short of everything, but there is no shortage of good-looking women. I can go to school with my eyes closed and pull one to look better than you." Huang Yida sneered. "Fighting for a woman? Do you deserve to make me do such a thing?" He was really a very proud and very tsundere man. In his eyes, beautiful women were like cabbages that he could eat at will. He could fry them if he wanted. Of course, he could really do that. After listening to his words, Jiangqin and Yuan Lin were very angry, and Fang Yen was even more furious. In his heart, although Jiangqin and Yuan Lin were still children, they were both very beautiful children. More importantly, they were his students and the juniors of his friends. They attacked his friends like this. Of course, Fang Yen was very unhappy. Of course, Fang Yen was not in a hurry to explode, because he knew that it was a very serious matter for a girl who felt good about herself to be scolded for not being beautiful. This matter was more than 10 times more serious than his classic car being smashed. He needed to provide time for the two of them to calm down. Sure enough, Jiangqin and Yuan Lin immediately began to fight back. "If that's the case, why are you following us like dogs? You invited us to dinner time and time again, and even when you were rejected, you still have to pretend to be gentlemen," Jiangqin said. "If we don't give him face, he is also shameless. When we go to the hot pot restaurant, they follow us to the hot pot restaurant. When we come to the hot spring, they come to the hot spring. How pitiful are they? On such a cold day, we are soaking in the hot spring in the yard and drinking red wine, while they are outside drinking the wind and eating the snow. Their days must be hard, right?" Yuan Lin sneered. "You two bitches," Guanyu cursed. Jiangqin and Yuan Lin's words did poke at their wounds. Waiting outside for a few hours really made the two of them feel like a year. Moreover, there was a sense of shame that they were not cared about. Two stupid women. Do you know what you have done? Huang Yida was so angry that he laughed. Do you know that what will happen next is out of your control? I will make you beg for death. Shouldn't I be the one saying that? Fang Yan said. You smashed my car and scolded my friend. Shouldn't I be the one looking for trouble? Get lost, Guan scolded. He didn't dare to offend Huang Yida, but in his heart, he really didn't care about a small character like Fang Yan. Who are you? If you make me angry, you will be the first to die. You really make me feel very conflicted, Fang Yan said. I originally thought that we should talk about the compensation first, and then pay your mother back, of course. Let your mother come and sleep with you, Guan scolded recklessly. Fine, Fang Yan said coldly. This problem is solved. Fang Yan grabbed Guan head and slammed it against the steering wheel. Clang! Before Guan could fully react, his forehead had already hit the steering wheel. Fang Yan angrily hit with great force. Just one hit made his head bleed, and the blood flowed into his eyes, making it difficult for him to see. Clang! Fang Yan grabbed Guan head and slammed it against the steering wheel again. With just 2 hits, Guan actually fainted. Fang Yan's action was too fast, and he couldn't even say a word of threat or beg for mercy. It was not until this time that Huang Yida, who was sitting in the passenger seat, reacted. What are you doing? What are you? He reached out and wanted to roll up the window. If Fang Yan didn't quickly pull his arm out, it would be crushed by the window glass. Click! Fang Yan's speed was faster, and he stood next to the main cockpit, directly locking all the windows. No matter how hard Huang Yida tried, there was no way to roll up the window. Fang Yan ignored Huang Yida, and one of his hands was still grabbing Guan head. He knew that Guan had fainted, but this didn't mean that he had vented his anger. Clang! He slammed Guan head against the steering wheel for the 3rd time. Clang! The 4th time. Clang! The 5th time. As if he was addicted to doing this, Fang Yan grabbed Guan head and slammed it against the steering wheel again and again. When the steering wheel was crooked, he used his other hand to straighten it and continued to hit it. The Mercedes-Benz logo in the middle of the steering wheel was printed in the middle of Guan's forehead, creating a triangular flesh hole on his forehead. Guan's head was dripping with blood, and the steering wheel was also drenched with blood. Blood flowed on the ground and on Guan's legs. It was a shocking sight. The narrow car was filled with the smell of blood, which made Huang Yida feel nauseous. As soon as Fang Yan let go, Guan's whole body collapsed on the leather seat, as if he was dead. Fang Yan took a tissue from the car to wipe the blood between his fingers. He looked at Huang Yida and asked, "Do you know that the next thing is out of your control? I'm going to make you beg for death. This sentence should be said by me." Chapter 350. When they were in Huaqing, Jiangqin and Wang Lin had seen the scene of Fang Yan beating up Brother Wolf, so they were still very calm at this time. Huang Yida didn't have such luck. He was really scared silly. Oh my God, is this guy trying to beat me to death? Guan's head and face were covered with blood, and his chest and pants were also covered with blood. The blood splashed on his body, and he did not dare to reach out to wipe it off. His head and the steering wheel made a cracking sound, and every time he hit it, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. He suspected that even if Guan came back to life, his forehead and nose would probably collapse. If he did not go for plastic surgery, how could he fight in the entertainment industry in the future? Of course, the premise was that Guan could still come back to life. He thought that Guan was already dead. Guan's encounter made Huang Yida completely calm down, and his legs kept trembling under the car. He knew in his heart that if Fang Yan could treat Guan like this, then he had enough courage to treat himself like this. Huang Yida felt that he had to do something. He could not sit still and wait for death. "You'd better not touch me, my father is. Don't tell me who your father is," said Fang Yan. "I'm not interested in knowing him." Fang Yan wiped the gap between his fingers with a tissue. He wiped very carefully. After wiping every finger clean, he put the blood-stained tissue in his pocket and said, "Can we talk about compensation now? Of course, if you have a different opinion, I can also beat you up first. I accept the negotiation." Huang Yida was relieved. As long as the problem could be solved with money, it was not a big problem. How much could his old car be worth? Even if he opened his mouth wide and bit it, how much could it be? As long as he walked out safe and sound today, there would be plenty of opportunities to get back at him in the future. He was very confident about this. "Get out of the car," said Fang Yan. In the past, if Fang Yan had used a commanding tone to order him to get out of the car, he would have rolled his eyes and called him an idiot. But with the visual impact of Guan being beaten to death in front of him, he did not have any courage to resist. He opened the door and got out of the car, but he still didn't have the guts to walk up to Fang Yan. Fang Yan looked at Huang Yida, who was standing in the wind and shivering, and said, "Since you agreed to compensate, I won't bully you. You'll pay me what the car is worth, 10 million up front. If it's not enough, I'll ask you for more." Huang Yida stared at Fang Yan with wide eyes and said, 10 million? What kind of expression is that? It's like I'm deliberately tricking you. Fang Yan said with a displeased expression. Huang Yida felt so wrong that he was about to cry. He thought to himself, "You're not deliberately tricking me. You're already prepared to bury me." 10 million can buy a Bentley, 2 Ferraris, more than a dozen Mercedes-Benz and BMWs. Brother, if I'm not wrong, the car you drive is called Hongqi, right? Isn't that too much? Huang Yida said cautiously. Although he had already planned to solve the problem with money, he didn't think that he would be cheated so badly. "How about this? Your car is already old. I'll call to order a new car for you, a new BMW. You can pick up the car when you get back to the city and drive it home today. Do you think that's okay?" BMW? Fang Yan shook his head. "I also have a BMW at home, but I like this Hongqi." Huang Yida sneered in his heart. He thought to himself, "Will you die if you don't brag? You have a BMW at home, but you don't drive it. You drive such a broken Hongqi to pick up girls? Is there something wrong with your brain?" Of course, Huang Yida didn't dare to say such words. He was afraid that Fang Yan would beat him, but he didn't have the confidence to beat Fang Yan. "Since you like Hongqi, then I'll buy you a Hongqi," Huang Yida said. "That's fine too." Fang Yan said. "I want the same Hongqi." "Of course, I'll buy you the same Hongqi." Huang Yida laughed in his heart. "This idiot, a BMW doesn't want a Hongqi. I really like your stupid acting." Fang Yan seemed to see through Huang Yida's thoughts and said with a smile, "I hope you can buy it. My Hongqi is the 3rd-generation domestic Hongqi that I bought 56 years ago. It's called Victoria's Soaring Dragon. It's a car from decades ago. It's really an antique now." Huang Yida didn't respond. He took out his phone and began to search for this model of Hongqi. As long as this car was sold online, he didn't believe that he couldn't buy it. Soon, the results appeared. He clicked on the link and his face became more and more ugly. The 3rd-generation domestic Hongqi, which was the Victoria's Soaring Dragon, was priced at 570,000 yuan 56 years ago. Moreover, this price was the best one. The Victoria's Soaring Dragon only had one top-tier car. Of course, this price wasn't something difficult for Huang Yida to accept. After all, his annual New Year's money and the earnings from some of the stocks he invested were enough for him to pay the compensation. The problem was that 570,000 yuan was the price 56 years ago. According to the introduction on the internet, Victoria's Soaring Dragon was produced to celebrate the coming of Wuxia. Because the price of Victoria's Soaring Dragon was relatively expensive, and its appearance was too old, it wasn't accepted by the public. The sales of this car were pitifully low. Fang Yan's grandfather, Fang Hui, was a martial artist. The rough edges and corners of Victoria's Soaring Dragon were just right for him, so he bought one as his own car. Later, the Hongqi factory really had no choice but to give all the remaining Victoria's Soaring Dragon to the retired old cadres behind the red wall as their travel cars. After the car was sent out, the leaders of the Hongqi factory were also relieved. As a result, during the National Day military parade, the country's #1 leader also chose to ride this special Hongqi car to participate in the parade and push this car to the world. For some reason, the Hongqi factory didn't reopen the production line of Victoria's Soaring Dragon. Therefore, the very few cars became antiques that some people collected. Now, the price of each Victoria's Soaring Dragon was between 6 million and 8 million. If the previous owner of the car had a special identity, then the price could be higher. In that case, the 10 million that Fang Yan offered was indeed a good price. After all, this type of car wasn't something that could be bought with money. What stupid thing did they do? Huang Yida completely became an idiot. He began to envy the unconscious Guanu. At least he didn't have to worry about money now. Fang Yan looked at the change in Huang Yida's expression and said, "Now you know that my asking price isn't high, right? The car was just cut, it's not broken yet. Can it still be driven after some repairs?" Huang Yida said. "But." Fang Yan slapped Huang Yida's face and said with a sneer, "Do you want to say that since the car isn't completely broken anyway, why don't you just pay for the repair and let this matter go?" Huang Yida's face was burning with pain. He reached out and wiped it. There was blood on his palm. He knew that the corner of his mouth was cut by Fang Yan. His eyes became fierce, but his voice was still calm as he said, "I didn't expect this car to be so expensive. I don't have that much money in my card. How to raise money is your problem." Fang Yan said with a sneer, "My problem is to ask you for money. You also know that I'm just a student," Huang Yida said. "Such a large sum of money, I need the support of my family. Can I call my family?" Fang Yan squinted at Huang Yida and said, "Why? Are you ready to call for help?" "I didn't mean that." Huang Yida quickly denied. He was afraid that his thoughts would be misunderstood by Fang Yan. If this guy didn't care about anything and beat him up, then he would suffer a big loss. Thinking of Guanu's miserable state, he felt his legs becoming weak. "I have more than 4 million in my card. I'll transfer all of this money to you and write you an IOU. After I sell the stocks in my hand, I'll give you the rest of the money. Do you think that's okay?" Fang Yan thought about it and said, "You did this voluntarily?" "I did this voluntarily." Huang Yida said, "I can write you an IOU, and I can write the compensation reason on the IOU. Then I'll believe you this time." Fang Yan said. Then he took out his bank card and handed it to Huang Yida. "I have a condition." Huang Yida said. "What condition?" Fang Yan asked. "I accept your compensation condition. You can't hit people, I can't promise you this." Fang Yan said. "What if you scold me after I accept your condition?" "I promise I won't scold you." Huang Yida said seriously. Is he an idiot? Will he scold people at this time? Fang Yan thought about it and said, "Okay, as long as you don't scold me, I won't hit you." Huang Yida opened his mobile bank account and entered Fang Yan's card number to transfer the money. After the transfer, Huang Yida got into the Mercedes-Benz and took out a pen and paper. He wrote a 5 million IOU and handed it to Fang Yan. Fang Yan took the IOU and checked it. Then he carefully stuffed it into his wallet. But Fang Yan slapped Huang Yida's face. "Why did you hit people?" Huang Yida was shocked. "I just said that you can't hit people when I give you money." Clang! Fang Yan kicked Huang Yida's stomach again. His body flew out and hit the Mercedes-Benz behind him. "You scolded me." "I didn't scold." Huang Yida held his stomach. The pain made the muscles on his face twisted. "You scolded me," Fang Yan said and rushed toward Huang Yida again. "You scolded me in your heart." Chapter 351. Bang. Fang Yan punched Huang Yida on the left side of his face. Bang. Fang Yan punched Huang Yida on the right side of his face. "Hey, how dare you stare at me?" Fang Yan punched him in the mouth. "Mr. Fang, stop." Jiang Qin ran up and pulled Fang Yan's arm to stop him from hitting. "Mr. Fang," Yuan Lin shouted "Mr. Fang," and rushed up to hold Fang Yan's waist. Yuan Lin's behavior made Jiang Qin very dissatisfied. "You can stop the fight, but why did you hold him?" So, she reached out and held Fang Yan's arm in her warm arms, saying, "Mr. Fang, you can't hit him anymore, or he will die. Are you worried about him?" Fang Yan asked with a smile. "We are worried that you will kill him and have to bear the responsibility," Yuan Lin said. "Then I won't hit him." Fang Yan was very satisfied with the girl's answer. Although he regarded them as children, he also hoped that he was the most handsome uncle in their eyes, or the big brother. Anyway, it's not satisfying. Fang Yan was really not satisfying. He tried very hard to control his strength to avoid accidentally killing him. He thought it would be better to go back and fight with Yi Ro or Bailey Lu. That kind of fight was a real fight. Fang Yen patted Huang Yida's face, motioning him to open his eyes and look at him. Huang Yida's eyes were covered with blood. He just opened his eyes, but he quickly closed them again, because the blood soaked into his eyes, which made him feel very uncomfortable. Do you dare to curse people casually in the future? Huang Yida had to curse again in his heart. You bastard son of AB***, when did I curse people casually? It's easy to blame someone, right? I'm more wrong than you, Fei. I know you will definitely take revenge, and I don't care whether you will or not. Let me tell you, the people of Swallow Dock are not so easily bullied. Fang Yen waved his hand and said to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, let's go back. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked sympathetically at Huang Yida, who was lying motionless on the front of the Mercedes-Benz, and then happily followed Fang Yen to the smashed classic car. It was as if his muscles were being torn apart. He felt like his body was falling apart. Many parts of his body were no longer listening to his brain. He tried his best to get up. Just as he used his elbow to push his body up, his strength was exhausted. Once again, he lay on the roof of the car, gasping for breath. Senior brother. A voice suddenly rang in his ears. Huang Yida was shocked and jumped down from the front of the car. Seeing Guanu standing next to him with blood all over his face, he asked in a trembling voice, "Are you a human or a ghost?" "Senior brother, it's me, Guanu." Guanu felt a little itchy on his nose. He reached out to wipe it, and 5 bright red fingerprints appeared on his face. Huang Yida took several steps back and shouted, "Guanu, are you okay?" "Senior brother, I can't swallow this," Guanu said with red eyes. Although his mind was much more mature than children of this age, he was still a teenager after all. Being bullied like this, he felt so wrong that his tears were about to come out. Seeing Guanu's expression, Huang Yida was relieved and said in a hoarse voice, "I can't swallow this either. He took my money, and he has to spit it out for me. Spit it out 10 times, 100 times. He hit my people, and he has to pay it back 10 times, 100 times. This time I want his life." "Senior brother, should we call the police?" "Call the police? Calling the police is too easy on them." "Senior brother, what can you do?" After listening to Huang Yida's words, Guanu regarded him as his backbone and asked eagerly. "He is too strong, and we are not his opponent at all." They had not associated Fang Yen with the legendary martial arts master. How could there be so many martial arts masters in the world? When Fang Yen grabbed Guanu's head, Guanu also tried to resist, but he did not succeed, so Guanu subconsciously felt that Fang Yen was stronger than him. Can strength be used as food? Huang Yida sneered. No matter how good his martial arts is, he is afraid of a machete. If he dares to hit me, I will let his whole family suffer. Swallow Dock. Swallow Dock, what is his name? Fang Yen. Guanu said. It seems to be the name. What kind of place is Swallow Dock? Call and ask and you will know. Huang Yida said. He searched for a while, but there was no phone in his pocket. Maybe the phone fell to the ground when he was beaten. So he searched on the ground and finally found the phone in the snow. The screen was soaked with snow. Huang Yida wiped the phone on his body, and it could still be used. He checked in the phone book, and finally chose a person called Old San to be his revenge partner this time. The phone was dialed, and it was quickly picked up. A laughing voice came from the phone and said, "Young Master Huang, I haven't found a brother to drink with for a long time. Where have you been recently?" Huang Yida was not joking with Old San. He was not in the mood. He said in a deep voice, "Third brother, your brother was bullied." "What? Bullied? In Yanjing City? Who dares to bully my brother?" Old San asked in surprise. "Third brother, I was careless this time. I came to Tangshan with my friends to soak in the hot spring, but we were blocked. Third brother, help me find a place." Swallow Dock. Have you heard of this place? Brother, you were bullied. This is a big deal. Don't mention Swallow House. Even if it is Peacock House, I will burn it down. Where you now? I will pick you up immediately. Then we will directly bring our brothers to Swallow House to avenge you. I don't believe that there are still people who dare to bully my Old Sans brother. Today I will listen to third brother's arrangement. Us brothers will kill Buddha and gods will destroy gods. In this cold weather, Huang Yida finally felt a hint of ambiguity. He thought to himself, "Father really raised a good dog." Huang Yida said gratefully, "Third brother, I am in the parking lot of Tangshan top-grade hot spring. My friends and I are injured, we may not be able to drive. Today we will rely on you, brother." "Don't mention it. We are brothers after all," third brother said straightforwardly. Hanging up the phone, Guanyu asked with concern, "Senior brother, what did you say?" Huang Yida opened the car door and sat inside, saying, "We will rest in the car, someone will come to pick us up in a while." Guanyu also opened the car door and sat inside, saying, "Then Fang Yen, go to Swallow Dock and set them on fire," Huang Yida said fiercely. "I want them to die without a burial place." "Great," Guanyu said happily. "Then catch those two little bitches, make them kneel down and sing Conquer to us. At that time, I'm afraid their mouths won't have time to sing Conquer anymore," Huang Yida said with an obscene smile. "Since they did something wrong, they have to be punished. Since they don't want to accept a toast, then let them drink yellow soup. Stinking bitch, if it wasn't for those two, would we be in this situation?" That's right. Guanyu thought of the injuries he had suffered, and his hatred also surged. "Humph, don't fall into our hands or else." Huang Yida suddenly thought of a question and asked, "When did you wake up?" What? Guanyu was stunned and said, "I just woke up." "I hope so." Huang Yida coldly glanced at him and said. If Guanyu had woken up long ago and saw that he was being beaten but deliberately pretended to be dead and didn't want to come out to help, there was a big problem with this kid's character. The big tyranny at the front of the motorcade that was responsible for opening the road stopped. The first car stopped, and the 4 cars following behind all stopped. The door was pushed open, and a long-haired man in leather jumped out of the tyranny car. He walked to the stone sign at the entrance of the village, looked at it, and shouted, "Swallow Fort, this is Swallow Fort, it's written on the sign. Get off." The bald man in the back seat of the tyranny car shouted into the walkie-talkie, and the cars behind all opened their doors. More than a dozen men in black jumped out with all kinds of weapons in their hands, and gathered towards the stone sign. The bald man grinned, revealing 2 big golden teeth in the middle, and said to Huang Yida sitting next to him with a smile, "Brother, this is Swallow Fort. A place where even birds don't shit. If it wasn't for the GPS, we wouldn't even know where this place is." Huang Yida looked at the group of men in black standing in the cold wind, and his confidence was unprecedentedly high, saying, "Third brother, I can't thank you enough. You've seen the grievances I've suffered. This is the most shameful day for me as a brother. Today, it's up to you to make the decision for me." Guanyu's mouth was crooked, and he pointed to the village and said, "Beat them. Beat them until their mothers can't recognize them. Today we'll follow third brother, and watch third brother take your iron-blooded brothers to kill gods and destroy Buddhas." Third brother took out a cigarette from his pocket, lit it, and after spitting out a mouthful of smoke, he said lightly, "It's a piece of cake." Third brother opened the door and got off, and Huang Yida and Guanyu also got off. In this desolate suburb, the cold wind was even colder. Huang Yida and Guanyu were both seriously injured, so the coldness reached their bones. Third brother swept his gaze over his brothers in a dignified manner and shouted, "Let's end this quickly. Brothers, you haven't eaten yet. When we get back, third brother will treat you to a hot pot, big meat and good wine." Huang Yida also shouted and said, "Everyone has a red packet of 10,000 yuan. "Ow," the black-robed men shouted excitedly. Chapter 352. It was getting later and later, the sky was getting darker and darker. The wind and snow that had stopped for half a day started flying again. The goose feather-like snowflakes and ice cubes inlaid a layer of protective film on the stone tablet. Most of the surface of the tablet was covered, only revealing a small area in the corner. Swallow Fort. The 3 big characters written in cursive script were the guiding light, telling Huang Yida, Guanyu, Sanyi and the others that this was the place they were looking for. Perhaps it was because of the long days or the wind and rain, this stone tablet was mottled and broken, like an ordinary old man that had almost melted into the earth because of his age. However, if they had a little more patience, or if they carefully swept away the snow and ice on the stone tablet, scraped off the thin layer of ice, and carefully studied the words on the stone tablet, they definitely wouldn't have done such a ridiculous thing. But it could only be because they didn't do those things, so they were ignorant and fearless. To San Yi, in such a remote and ancient village, what kind of great person could there be? What kind of great person would be willing to live here? He had 2 popular bars in Yanjing, and he had dozens of underlings watching over them. He was one of the top figures in Yanjing's Grey Road. Although he often called himself Lao San, who wouldn't call him San Gu when they saw him. There were even some new lads who directly called him San Yi. San Gu was very proud. San Gu was very arrogant. To San Gu, this small village wasn't even enough for him and his brothers. Not only could he help Huang Yi to please his father, but he could also give some benefits to his brothers. This was a great deal. He raised his head again and blew a smoke bubble, saying loudly, "Brothers, did you hear that? We'll have enough meat and enough wine. Young Master Huang is benevolent and righteous. He can't bear to let everyone work for nothing. After we're done, he'll give everyone a big red packet of 10,000 yuan. Brothers, do you know what to do?" A burly man said with a smile, "We'll go wherever young Master Huang points. Whoever offends our young Master Huang will take his life. Young Master Huang, just wait and see. We brothers won't eat and take money for free." Third brother waved his hand, motioning for everyone to quiet down. He said, "We are looking for a kid from Swallow Dock called Fong Yen. Let's ask a villager first. Once you find him, beat him half to death and hand him over to our young Master Huang." "Understood." The gangsters shouted in unison. Third brother waved his hand, and the group of black-clothed men with knives and cudgels walked into the village. Quang quang quang, black shirt, black pants, black leather boots. Marching into the village in such a large group, it looked extremely powerful and imposing. Third brother turned around to look at Huang Yida and said, "Brother, shall we also follow and watch?" Huang Yida stomped his feet and cursed, "What kind of shitty place is this?" It was so cold that he almost froze. "You can't not exercise." "Third brother, there's an old man in front." A hooligan pointed at a hunchbacked old man in front of them and said. The old man was wearing a thick sheepskin coat, with a dung basket in his left hand and a dung rake in his right. He was walking towards the village step by step. "Go ask for directions." Third brother said. The long-haired man quickly ran in front of the old man and shouted, "Old man, I want to ask you something. Is there a guy called Fong Yen in your village?" The road ahead was suddenly blocked by someone. The old man slowly raised his head and looked at the long-haired man, asking, "What did you say?" The old man's voice was hoarse, as if he was using all his strength, but it wasn't enough. As soon as it flew out of his mouth, it disappeared. "Old man, I want to ask you something. Is there a guy called Fong Yen in your village?" "Fong Yen? Do you know Fong Yen?" Longhair couldn't help but raise his voice. "What did you say? I can't hear you." The old man covered his ears with his hands, as if trying to block out the howling wind. Longhair helplessly turned around and said to Third brother, "Third brother, this old man is deaf. He can't hear me." "You're the deaf one." The old man's face was full of anger as he scolded. "Ha!" The surrounding black-clothed men all burst into laughter. Seeing Longhair being called deaf by an old man, they thought it was quite funny. Longhair was both embarrassed and angry. He pointed at the old man and scolded, "Old man, are you King messing with me? You can't hear me when I ask you a question, but you can hear me clearly when I call you deaf. Are you deaf or not?" "Some words can be heard, and some words can't," the old man said aloud. "If you can't hear, then don't let it in. Don't dirty your ears." "Old man, who are you saying can't be heard?" Longhair reached out to grab the old man's leather jacket. "Do you believe that I can't kill you with one punch?" "You can't kill me with one punch," the old man said. He didn't retreat, but his body trembled a little. Yes, it was just a slight tremble, and Longhair's hand that was about to grab his jacket missed. Longhair was a little surprised, thinking that it was because of his carelessness. Seeing the mocking gazes of his brothers, he became even angrier and slapped the old man's head. If this slap landed, with the old man's old and decaying body, he would probably faint on the spot. A miserable cry rang through the night sky and tore apart the tranquility of the village. It wasn't the old man who shouted, because his voice wasn't that sharp and loud. It was the long hair who had attacked. He was the one who slapped the old man's head, but in the end, it was the old man who hit his face with the feces rake in his hand. Long hair covered his face, which was gouged by the feces rake, and screamed. The black-clothed men who had gathered around to watch a joke were all dumbfounded, not knowing what had happened. "Cripple this old thing," someone shouted after coming back to his senses. A man with a buzz cut raised a steel pipe and smashed it at the old man. The old man raised his hand and slammed the feces basket on his head. The animal feces inside poured over his head and face. He jumped and wiped with all his might, but the stench was still overwhelming. He rolled on the ground, trying to use snow to wipe off the feces on his body. "Someone is bullying great-grandpa." A strong-looking child stood at the entrance of the courtyard peeing and shouted after seeing the scene in front of him. Thus, two women rushed out of the house with a spatula and a rolling pin in their hands. The woman with the spatula slapped the face of the young man with the machete. The old lady with the rolling pin was even more ferocious. She threw the rolling pin in her hand from afar. The rolling pin flew towards the crowd with a whistling sound. Bang! The two black-clothed men were hit by the rolling pin. The one who was hit in the face screamed and fell to the ground, while the other one who was hit in the head directly fainted. This was the prelude to the battle. Wooden doors opened one after another, and countless men, women, and even children ran out of the houses. "I'll poke your eyes." A beautiful little girl used two dragons' dazzling eyes to poke the black-clothed man's eye socket. "You dare to hit my seventh granduncle? I'll fight you." A hot-tempered young man sent a black-clothed man flying with a punch. Before he even landed, he pounced on him again. So what if he's a hooligan? What's so great about being a hooligan? Aren't hooligans supposed to be bullied? A middle-aged man wearing a white gown threw out a punch with every curse. The black-clothed man was like a human dummy in front of him and had no chance to fight back. "Big brother." A little boy patted the black-clothed man's knee and shouted with a childish voice. The black-clothed man lowered his head. The little guy stuck out his tongue and said, "I want to play with your bird." The man covered his crotch and let out a tragic cry. There were too many villagers who ran out of Swallow Fort, and the dozen hooligans that third brother brought with him weren't enough. At first, it was a dozen hooligans bullying an old man, then it was a villager from Swallow Fort against a hooligan, and finally it was a few villagers ganging up on a hooligan. There were even some who tried to snatch him away. "Grandmolly, you're old. This kind of fighting and killing isn't suitable for you. Leave these little thieves to me." "First wife of the Lin family, you're pregnant with a baby, you need to take care of it. Don't touch it. Come, leave the one under your hand to me. Don't worry, I'll beat him up however you want." "Erguzi, you little boy, get out of my way. Your father didn't even get one. What are you doing here?" In the end, the old man who collected dung had nothing to do. He picked up his dung rake and basket from the ground, shoveled the animal dung on the ground into the basket again, grinned and said, "During the war, the army didn't dare to enter Swallow Fort. It's been hundreds of years, and I've never met a hooligan. This old man has lived for so long, but it's the first time I've encountered something like this." Fresh. Huang Yida and Guanu were dumbfounded. It shouldn't be like this. The plot shouldn't be like this. They brought hooligans, super thugs who lived on the edge of a knife, took people's money to eliminate disasters. This was just a small village that was hard to find on the map, and there was a huge disparity in strength between the two sides. How did it become like this? They hadn't even seen Fang Yen, and the thugs they brought were all killed. How could they take revenge? How could they get back the check and get justice? Huang Yida was upset and uncomfortable, and Guanu had already cried out of grievance. Third brother couldn't believe what had happened in front of him, and he didn't wake up until the butt of the cigarette in his mouth burned his lips. "Have we been tricked?" Third brother turned to look at Huang Yida and Guanu, and asked with an unkind expression. Huang Yida's face was extremely embarrassed, and he nodded and said, It's very likely that he deliberately told us this place, just to lure us here for revenge. Let's just run, Guan said with a sad face. Unfortunately, they couldn't run away. The villagers who had defeated the bodyguards in black had already surrounded them in the middle. Chapter 353. Third brother was a person of the scene, and a person of the scene naturally had to say some polite words at the crucial moment. He cupped his fists, bowed to the villagers present, and said with a smile, "Fellow villagers, friends and elders, is there any misunderstanding? We came to Swallow Dock with no ill intentions, we just wanted to find a person, a friend. If we have disturbed you, please forgive us. I apologize to you, sincerely apologize. Today we are allowed to pass, and we will definitely give you generous gifts in the future." Third brother was very sad and sorrowful. All these years of smooth sailing made him have higher and higher expectations of himself. He did not allow himself to fail, and he would not allow such a humiliating failure. He wanted a 100% victory, he wanted to become a 100% king of war like third brother. But who could explain to him what the F***ck was going on? No one responded. The villagers of Swallow Dock looked at third brother with a strange expression, as if they were looking at an idiot. That, I'll say it here today, isn't it almost the new year? Give each family a pig leg and a basket of fine noodles. Third brother decided to bribe them with a large sum of money. Although these villagers were strong and could fight, they had not seen much of the world. Giving them a pig leg and a basket of fine noodles would probably make them smile from ear to ear, right? The villagers of Swallow Dock were indeed smiling from ear to ear, and even chattered in groups of 3 to 5, pointing at third brother and the others. Even if third brother, Huang Yida, and Guan couldn't clearly hear what they were saying, but from their expressions and actions, they could more or less guess something. Look, these 3 idiots. Huang Yida wanted to cut the Gordian knot and solve the problem quickly. He felt that the more they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. That Fang Yan had tricked them here and hadn't appeared yet, who knew what he would do? Huang Yida whispered to third brother, "Third brother, we need to use a large sum of money, these wicked people are wild. Don't worry, I'll pay for it." Being criticized by Huang Yida like this, third brother's face didn't look good, and he shouted to the villagers, "Fellow villagers are loyal, I can't be too stingy, 1 pig for each family, 100 yuan for each villager. Every family has one. What do you guys think? You should be satisfied now, right? Fellow countrymen, don't be too greedy. If it doesn't work, then we'll call the police. When the police get here, you'll have nothing left. You can't get it, right?" A hooligan called the police and asked the police for protection. "This is the first time I've heard of such a thing," an old man said with a laugh. "Exactly. Don't you have any shame? These people who live off others are so spineless." Back in those days, my grandfather could wear steel nails and be sandwiched between them without batting an eyelid. He even asked for a cigarette from the torturers. Third brother and the others were scolded by a group of peasants for being unprofessional, which made them blush with shame. They wanted to force their way through the crowd, but when they saw the shovels, rolling pins, shovels used for stir-frying vegetables, broadswords, spears and other sharp weapons in their hands, they could only give up on this idea. "We're really looking for someone." Huang Yida forced a smile on his face and said, "I'm a student of the Yanjing Academy of Music. We came to Swallow Dock to look for our friend." "Who is your friend?" someone asked. "Fang Yan," Huang Yida said. "So it's the Fang family's kid's friend. Don't listen to them. Why bring so many people to see a friend? They have knives and guns, how can they be visiting a friend? No matter who you're looking for, you can't bring weapons into the village. This is the rule." Fang Yan walked over with a bowl of pig's trotter rice in his hand. He stood in the middle of the crowd and said with a smile, "I don't know them. They have knives and guns, don't tell me they want to rob our village." Fang Yan, Guan stared fiercely at Fang Yan. "That's him." "He's Fang Yan," Huang Yida whispered to third brother. "Brother, don't worry. This brat is on my list. Beat him up every time you see him in the future," third brother said in a low voice. He also remembered the humiliation he had suffered today on Fang Yan. Thank you, third brother, Huang Yida whispered. What do we do now? Admit defeat, third brother said. Third brother walked in front of Fang Yen and took the initiative to extend his hand to Fang Yen. He said, brother, right? I'm third brother. My friends in the circle call me third brother out of respect. I heard that you and my two brothers had some misunderstanding, so I came over to understand the situation. I didn't expect to be misunderstood by my fellow villagers. Look at this, Fang Yen didn't have any intention of shaking hands with third brother. He stuffed a fragrant and delicious pig's trotter into his mouth and chewed happily. He said, I had some misunderstanding with your two brothers. One of your brothers, I guess it's Huang Yida, felt wronged and called you for help. You wanted to curry favor with Huang Yida or someone in his family, and then brought a dozen of your brothers to help him take revenge. You didn't expect to be beaten like a pack of dogs after entering Swallow Dock. So now you want to shake hands with me and ask for peace. If there's a chance in the future, you can have your revenge 10 years later? Third brother's face darkened. He said, Brother Fang, this Swallow Dock is good and bad, I've already experienced it. But this Swallow Dock is just Swallow Dock. Brother Fang will go to Yanjing City one day. At that time, aren't you afraid of something unpleasant happening? Fang Yen stared at third brother with wide eyes. He asked, You guys aren't thinking of beating me up? For example, getting into a car accident while driving, or being poisoned while eating, or you're walking on the road and someone stabbing you in the back. This world is too dangerous, anything can happen. Third brother said calmly, but the threat was obvious. Do you know the difference between ideals and reality? Fang Yen tried hard not to look at the two dazzling golden teeth in third brother's mouth. That would affect his appetite. The pig trotter rice that he had just thought was delicious became tasteless after seeing third brother's face and teeth. If he wasn't afraid of wasting food, he wouldn't have the appetite to eat it. What do you mean? Third brother looked at Fang Yen and asked. Fang Yen said, Your ideal is to give me a car accident when I go to Yanjing City, or to be poisoned while eating, or to be stabbed while walking, but the reality is, Fang Yen suddenly threw the big bowl in his hand at third brother's face, letting the well-cooked pig trotter and greasy rice pour over his face. Your ideal is great, but the reality is that I'm treating you to pig trotter rice. Everyone laughed. The people of Swallow Dock were very satisfied with Fang Yen's way of handling things. For thousands of years, they had never been threatened. This was something in their bones, it was their innate temperament. Huang Yida and Guanyu looked at Fang Yen with faces full of shock. Did this guy really not know how to write the word death? Did he know what kind of person third brother was? Did he know that if he did this, he would encounter third brother's relentless revenge? No matter where he was, third brother would find someone to bring him fatal trouble. Thinking like this in his heart, there was an irresistible secret joy. If third brother was forced to act because of Huang Yida's invitation, then later, he might hate Fang Yan's existence even more than Huang Yida. First the rice bowl fell, then the sticky rice slid down third brother's face. Several pig trotters fell off, and 2 radishes fell. But there was a pig trotter that was too tenacious. It firmly stuck to third brother's face, not willing to fall to the ground with its companions. Third brother reached into the pocket of his leather jacket and took out a handkerchief. He used the handkerchief to wipe off the pig trotter and wiped the rice and juice off his face. When he finished doing all this, he threw the handkerchief in his hand to the ground and stepped on it with his leather boots. He rubbed it left and right, pressing the handkerchief deep into the soil, as if it had never appeared. Third brother looked at Fang Yen and said, Killing someone is just a big scar. What you just did, that's much more serious than killing someone. Slap. Fang Yen slapped third brother's face. Slap. Fang Yen slapped third brother's face again. Slap. Fang Yen kicked third brother's body flying. While third brother's body was still flying through the air, Fang Yan's toes touched the ground, and he jumped up and stood on top of third brother's body. Fang Yan's movement was very casual, and his posture was very handsome. Even the surrounding villagers didn't give him any applause. Huang Yida and Guanyu's eyes widened, and there was a crack in their hearts, as if something had broken. Damn, this guy is a martial arts expert? How are they going to get revenge? Clang! Third brother's body landed heavily on the ground, causing snow to fly everywhere. Fang Yan also landed, still stepping on third brother's stomach. Third brother grunted and vomited a large amount of bright red blood. Fang Yan looked down at third brother and said, "As a hooligan, you can bully other ordinary people or fish for some gray profit. In a situation where I can't see, no one will deliberately cause trouble for you. I'm also not someone who likes to meddle in other people's business. But you dare to be so arrogant and lawless after breaking into Swallow Fort, then don't blame us for getting rid of evil for the people. Swallow Fort doesn't accept threats, and Swallow Fort doesn't fear challenges." Swallow Fort. Fang Yan stepped on third brother's arm. Crack! One of third brother's arms was broken. Fang Yan kicked third brother's left leg. Crack! The clear sound of bones breaking came from third brother's left leg. Fang Yan looked at third brother who was howling in pain on the ground, and said, "Breaking one of your arms and one of your legs is a gift for your first visit to Swallow Fort. I hope you don't like it." Chapter 354. Some people are pitiful because of the poverty of life. Some people are pitiful because of the poverty of IQ. The former can be changed, the latter can't be saved. Fang Yan dealt with the third brother with a gorgeous move, leaving him twisting and howling in the snow. He waved to Huang Yida and Guanyu and said, "Come here." Huang Yida and Guanyu looked at each other, and their eyes were full of fear and horror. Fang Yan laughed and said, "Come here. I won't hit you." Huang Yida and Guanyu still didn't dare to come forward. Instead they took a few steps back. For Huang Yida, he didn't even believe in the punctuation of Fang Yan's words. "Before, we clearly discussed that you won't hit me if I give you money, but you still beat me to death. How can I believe that you won't hit people now? If I want to hit people, you won't be able to run away, right?" Fang Yan said with a smile. "And, have you ever thought that if you're so disobedient, I might get angry?" Huang Yida gritted his teeth, puffed out his chest and walked in front of Fang Yan, and said, "What do you want to say?" Clang! Fang Yan kicked Huang Yida's chest. Huang Yida couldn't bear such a force, his body fell to the ground, and then kept rolling forward. It wasn't until he was blocked by a child's mischievous kick that his body stopped. Fang Yan walked in front of Huang Yida and said with a smile, "To tell you the truth, I'm very grateful to you. I hoped you would come, but I didn't expect you to really come and bring me such a big surprise. The reason why I hit you is because I want you to remember, to let you know, don't always think you're number one in the world. In fact, you're just a fart in the eyes of many, in my eyes too. I'm not afraid of your revenge, but I don't want Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin to be hurt in any way." Fang Yan patted Huang Yida's face and said, "Can you promise me?" Huang Yida gritted his teeth and said. The corner of his mouth began to bleed again. The old wounds had not yet healed, but new ones had appeared. He felt that if he stayed with Fang Yan any longer, he would definitely bleed to death. Fang Yan was a dangerous person, the most dangerous person he had ever met. "No, he's a pervert." "Are you sure?" "Yes," Huang Yida said. He was very sincere when he said this because everything that had happened today had really made him afraid. He didn't dare to easily find trouble with Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. "I won't touch her, I won't. I promise you. I'd rather believe that there are ghosts in the world than believe a man's stupid mouth," Fang Yan said. "What should I do to make you remember it better?" Huang Yida was so scared that his whole body was trembling. He hurriedly said, I promise you, I really won't touch her. If I touch her, I'll die a horrible death. Trust me this once. They are my junior sisters. How could I possibly hurt them?" "It looks like you're really sincere," Fang Yan said with a smile. Then he dragged Huang Yida's arm and pulled. Huang Yida opened his mouth wide and howled like a pig being slaughtered. "I don't believe in sincerity," Fang Yan said. "But I hope you can feel my sincerity." Fang Yan's way of expressing sincerity was, he forcibly broke Huang Yida's 2 arms and 2 legs. Fang Yan waved at Guanyu. Guanyu's body softened and fell to the ground with a plop. Don't hit me, I won't hurt them, I won't." Fang Yan sighed and said, "I didn't plan to hit you." I mean, you can drive, can you? Fang Yen really didn't plan to hit Guanu. Guanu and Huang Yida were two different kinds of people. Guanu was not a good person, but he was afraid. Huang Yida was arrogant and thought that everyone in the world was not as good as a finger of his. Such a person was easy to go to extremes. Therefore, in order to prevent him from going to extremes, Fang Yen first used an extreme solution to him. Guanu looked at Fang Yen with a confused face and thought, "What does this mean?" "Take them all away," Fang Yen said. "Take them all away. Don't dirty the village." "I'll take him away, I'll take him away." Guanu got up from the ground. He didn't know why he suddenly had such great strength. He picked up Huang Yida, who was lying on the ground, and ran out of the village. The other men in black also got up from the ground. They supported each other and walked towards the parking place at the entrance of the village. There were also a few slightly injured people who ran over and dragged the immobile third brother away. The convoy rumbled for a while, then turned around and ran away from Swallow Dock towards Yanjing City. This group of people came valiantly, full of confidence and anger, but when they left, they were so miserable and embarrassed. Of course, the pain prevented them from thinking about this problem for the time being. When the convoy went far away, a man wearing a down jacket and a cotton hat came out from behind the stone monument. He looked at the convoy going away, and his face showed a dignified and worried look. When they limped away, Fang Yen cupped his fists to the surrounding villagers and said with a smile, "Uncles and brothers, sisters-in-law and sisters, thank you for your help. I, Fang Yen, will remember this kindness." Che, the villagers scattered, and in the blink of an eye, they dragged their children home. Fang Yen saw that the old man was still standing next to him and looking at him with a smile. He hurriedly walked over, bent down to hold the old man's arm and said, "It's such a cold day. Why did you come out to pick up feces? Isn't it much more comfortable to stay at home, roast firewood and drink a cup of yellow wine?" "I'm old, so I want to come out and see more. I'm just afraid that one day when I close my eyes, I won't be able to see anything anymore. I haven't seen enough of this Swallow Fort yet," the old man said with a laugh. His ears and eyes were sharp, and he was a completely different person from before when he was pretending to be deaf and mute. "Sir, you won't leave so soon. I've already calculated for you, you can live for at least 100 years, Fang Yen said with a smile. "If you think that's too long, I'll give you a discount and let you live for another 80 years. I can't go any less. Any less and Yama won't be willing." The old man laughed aloud and said, "Child, you have a good mouth, but also a bad mouth. Tell me, what are you planning by bringing such a group of people to our Swallow's Fort?" "Sir, you can tell?" Fang Yen asked in surprise. The old man chuckled. The wrinkles on his face were deep, and his eyes were like bottomless black holes, black and sparkling, containing the wisdom and energy to understand the world. "When have you ever done anything that doesn't benefit you?" With Fang Yan's proud and arrogant personality, do you really think that these hooligans are worthy of your attention? If you didn't mention our Swallow Fort's name, how could they possibly find us? By Xiao aside, all the children of Swallow Fort added together wouldn't be as strong-willed as you alone, the old man said. Fang Yen looked around and hurriedly said, "Sir, don't do this to me, you're just making me hate. Did I say something wrong?" "I'd say the same in front of them," the old man confidently said. "Sir, of course you can say that, you even dare to say that." Fang Yen was about to cry. "If they don't dare to do anything to you, then wouldn't all their hate be transferred to me? Do I still want to live in this Swallow Fort?" Swallow Fort didn't have a village head, because there were too many surnames and everyone belonged to different clans, so there was no clan head. But Swallow Fort had a teacher. Teacher was the teacher of Swallow Fort's School of Enlightenment, as well as the school's headmaster. Bai Xiao was the school's teacher, but everyone called him Teacher Bai. It was only this old man in front of them that everyone had to call him Teacher. If there was anything important in the village, it was Teacher who went from door to door to inform everyone. If there was anything that needed to be decided, it was Teacher who would be the judge. This old man wasn't the soul of Swallow Fort, but he was definitely its totem. Just like the stone tablet at the entrance of the village, they both had symbolic meaning. The old man laughed and said, "What? Scared?" "I'm really scared," Fang Yen replied. I can act like a tyrant in this swallow fort because everyone loves and cares for me. But those people outside, they're really stabbing me to death, they're willing to do anything they can. How could I not be scared? So, we brought these petty thieves to Swallow Dock and let the people outside see the power of Swallow Dock. Let them reign in their hearts and reign in their hands. Don't go too far in doing things. Am I right? The old man's guess was correct. No one took Huang Yida and Guanyu seriously. Even Huang Yida's reinforcements, third brother, was just a small character. Fang Yan even thought that third brother's power was too small, and that this trip to Swallow Fort was too dull. Whether it was Huang Yida, Guanyu, or third brother, they were only pitiful pawns. Fang Yan wanted to catch the big fish at the back, so that they could set their sights on Swallow Fort as a whole. He wanted them to know, "Don't bully me, I have a lot of brothers." Fang Yan's expression became serious, looking respectfully at the old man and said, "Teacher, don't you think our Swallow Fort is too low-key? Why do we have to be high-profile?" The old man asked. "I'm being bullied. The people of Swallow Fort are being bullied. If we don't be high-profile, who knows what they'll do?" Fang Yan said, "Teacher, we've been low-key for hundreds of years, shouldn't we be high-profile for once?" The old man lightly shook his head and said, "The gun shoots the bird that sticks out, the knife cuts the snake in its territory. The wind blows the eggshell, wealth leaves the people in peace. Who says that Bai Shan's song doesn't waste the green pine? Who says that muddy cement doesn't stain the bright moonlight?" The old man hummed a tune with his back hunched, carrying a basket in one hand and a rake in the other, wearing thick cotton shoes as he walked into the wind and snow. Fang Yan lightly sighed, he was still not strong enough. Chapter 355. Beast Hunting Garden. Hundreds of beasts were kept in captivity for people to capture and kill in order to obtain a different kind of excitement and pleasure. Underground boxing, killing strange creatures, these rare and dangerous games were becoming more and more accepted and fascinated in certain circles. Those young masters and daughters of wealthy families had no worries about food or clothing. They could take whatever they wanted in the world. It was indeed a very difficult thing to play something different. Fortunately, when there was killing, there would be sales. If you wanted to kill, there would naturally be merchants who would provide everything for you. Thus, the hidden rare treasure gardens or beast hunting gardens were opened to some specific customers in the surrounding areas of Yanjing City. The so-called specific customers referred to those with a certain status. They had strong spending power, and they would keep the killing game they entered a secret. Of course, the most important thing was that if there were any problems with these gardens, they could help you erase all the loose ends with a single phone call. This was more advanced than golf teams, yacht clubs, or the mysterious and cool super sports clubs. The requirements to join were also more stringent. On the snow-covered snowfield, a group of men wearing military camouflage walked quickly. The camouflage was pale white, very similar to the color of the snow. They blended into one with the snowfield, looking like a few animals or tray ants walking quickly on the snowfield. The big man in the lead made a stop gesture, squatted down, and carefully examined the snowy surface. He said, "I found footprints. Although they are covered by fresh snow, we can find the target based on the footprints." "Xianxia, what animal is it?" someone asked excitedly. He tightened the hunting rifle in his hand, preparing to shoot fiercely in a moment. Coming to this godforsaken place on such a cold day to be exposed to the cold, wasn't it just to see blood? "A deer," Xianxia said. "Boring." The young masters in the team sighed and said, "When can we meet a big guy?" Yesterday, Liao Banbai and the others met a tiger. They killed the tiger, and everyone became a tiger-killing hero. The beast hunting garden even held a celebration banquet for them. They ate tiger penis and drank tiger blood wine. Even if we kill this deer, who would be willing to become a deer-killing hero? This thing depends on luck. Xianxia said angrily. "I also want to kill a blind bear. You'll have to encounter it to get it." The other team members were all on high alert, carrying hunting rifles or crossbows in their hands and scanning the surroundings. However, at the back of the team, there was a man following leisurely. His expression was calm and his posture relaxed. He didn't look like he was here to hunt beasts, but to walk in the snow. Sitting and looking at the depth of a foot, it emits a cold light at dusk. She was tired of dancing in the air and was actually lazy. She busied herself with the slightest breeze, falling all the jasper flowers in the sky, sealing it as fragrant plum blossom jade. Who would grind it into a soup pancake, only to exchange it for the smoke and fire of the mortal world? What a great snow, the man said with a sigh. If there were these beautiful elves here, how boring would winter be? Everyone laughed and someone said, "Young Master Jiang, are you here to enjoy the scenery?" Young Master Jiang has made a good poem. What was the name of this poem again? Although I don't understand it, I think it's very nice and interesting. Li Guichang, how dare you say something like that? If your old man hears it, he'll definitely shoot you. He's never been educated in his life, but he hopes you can become a cultured person. The man called Young Master Jiang laughed and said, "This isn't a poem I made. It's Yang Wanli's Snow Gazing." Where is this Yang Wanli from? His poem is so good he must be an elegant person. Let's find a chance to invite him out for a drink. Li Guichang laughed and said, "I can't invite him, he's from the Song dynasty. If we want to invite old Yang for a drink, we have to at least find a way to solve the transmigration problem," General Hang said with a smile. General Hang and Li Guichang had been good friends for many years. He knew that Li Guichang looked rough on the outside, but he had a meticulous mind. He said he was uncultured, but every word he said was very cultured. It was rare to see someone who could accurately grasp the humor of a sentence. Any social circle and gathering needed it. There's a problem in this world that you, young Master Jiang, can't solve? There really is, General Hang said. I'm not my brother. Children should be like Jiang Junling. Li Guichang laughed as he looked at General Hang and said, "Having a brother like this, you must be under a lot of pressure as an older brother, right? That's why I don't do anything proper. I just follow you guys to play chicken, walk dogs, pick up girls, and admire the snow all day long. I'm not as good as him in other aspects, but in these aspects, my brother can't compare to me," General Hang said with a face full of arrogance. Giving birth to a son should be like a general's order. His words raised the reputation of the general's order to the top. It also stepped on his older brother, General Hang, into the dust. If children should be like Jiang Junling, then as a man from the general family and Jiang Junling's older brother, what was he? Luckily, General Hang was carefree and didn't have any great ambitions. He played around with women, hunted beasts, and raced in cars. His days were easy and comfortable. If your old man heard this, he'd definitely use a whip to beat you. His temper isn't very good. That's right, General Hang. I heard that your omnipotent brother suffered a big loss in Huaqing. Your girl has been snatched away by someone else? Hey, you guys already know? This kind of thing can't be spread around. Don't wash your dirty linen in public. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you guys. General Hang threw the cigarette butt in his hand onto the ground and stepped on it. At this moment, a gust of wind blew, bringing with it scattered snowflakes. General Hang still maintained a moving smile on his face, but his body slightly tensed up. He raised the crossbow in his hand and undid the safety buckle on the side of the box. Kikikik, a strange sound like a big saw pulling on a branch sounded. Leopard, Zhao Qingye shouted loudly. It's a leopard. When Zhao Qingye shouted this, a silver-white wild leopard had already approached them under the cover of the snowstorm. It sped up and pounced towards them. Its speed was as fast as lightning, not giving anyone any chance to react. Some people fired randomly, while others were so shocked that they forgot to pull the safety buckle on their crossbows. They desperately pulled the trigger, but none of the arrows were shot out. Ta ta ta. With 3 leaps, the leopard had already rushed to the front of the group. Zhao Qingye didn't have time to counterattack. All she could do was quickly roll away. The others were even worse off. Some of the young masters even fell on their butts. In the beast hunting garden, humans could hunt beasts, and beasts could also be hunters. This was the true reason why the beast hunting garden was so popular. What kind of wonderful feeling was it to be placed in such a dangerous environment? General Hang's body suddenly leaped up, and the first arrow left the bowstring. Bang! The huge recoil caused the bowstring to ring, and the short arrow shot forward at high speed. Whoosh! The arrow was shot askew. The wild leopard had already rushed to the middle of the group, pouncing on a young master who was rolling on the ground. It opened its mouth and was about to bite. Everyone knew that as long as they were bitten by this beast, a bloody piece of flesh would be torn off. Bang! Oh you! A gunshot rang out. The wild leopard that was about to bite fell to the ground with a miserable cry. Its body twitched violently, and its abdomen once again emitted that rustling sound of a big saw pulling on a tree. But this time, the rustling sound was even more urgent and chaotic. It wasn't as calm and steady as before. A man in a green camouflage suit slowly walked over from behind the forest, expressionlessly looking at the struggling prey lying in the pool of snow. There was no hint of pride on his face. Blood flowed out from the wild leopard's abdomen, dyeing the surrounding snow red and then melting. A blood-red lake appeared at the place where it lay. The wild leopard was soaking in its own snow, looking very pitiful. Jiang Junling, everyone exclaimed. Jiang Junling pushed up his glasses, looked at the guy on the ground whose head was almost bitten off by the leopard, and asked, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," the young master said with lingering fear. His entire body couldn't stop shaking, and even his pants were soaked in urine. Of course, this was something he wouldn't admit. "We were so close, so close." Second young master Jiang, "Thank you." The general token appeared like a hero and instantly resolved the crisis that the team had encountered. He was warmly welcomed by the young masters. "Jiang Junling, why are you here?" "Jiang Junling, good marksmanship. Next time I come to the beast hunting garden, I'll have to ask for your protection. Military commander, long time no see, what have you been busy with?" Jiang Junling smiled and didn't answer their questions. He walked in front of General Xing and gently asked, "Bro, are you okay?" General Xing put his arm around Jiang Junling's shoulder and affectionately replied, "I was busy, but now you're here. Now that you've come, it's all right. You've saved us again, my good brother." "As long as you're fine," Jiang Junling pushed up his glasses and said, "Next time you enter the beast hunting garden, it's best to bring a team of guards. No one knows what will happen in the next second." "Huh, bringing a team of guards is boring," General Xing shook his head. "The prey has already been killed by them, the danger has already been blocked. Why would we still come in?" "Staying alive is more important," Jiang Junling said with a serious expression. "Bro, you have to listen to me on this. Otherwise I'll tell Grandpa." "Fine, fine," General Xing bitterly smiled. "Who told me to have the smartest little brother in Yanjing City? I'll listen to you. Next time I enter the garden, I'll bring a team of guards." Jiang Junling nodded and turned to leave. "Jiang Junling, your prey," Zhao Qingye shouted. There was an unwritten rule in the beast hunting garden. No matter who found the prey first, whoever killed it would get the merit. This cheetah was shot in the stomach by Jiang Junling. Although it wasn't dead yet, it was only a matter of one more shot. Jiang Junling turned around to look at the prey and said, "The prey you found first, I'll give it to you." The young master who was almost bitten by the cheetah jumped up and pointed his hunting rifle at the cheetah's head. Bang! One shot blew the cheetah's head to pieces. Chapter 356. The general gave the order to leave. With a wave of his sleeve, all that was left was snow. Some people were praising Jiang Junling for his righteousness. Some people were circling around the dead leopard, taking pictures and sending them to their moments. Some people were blaming Chen Xiaoran for smashing the leopard's head, depriving them of a delicious leopard brain. Li Guochang looked at Jiang Junling's receding figure in the snow and said, "Having a little brother like this really makes it hard to relax." General Xing grinned and said, "He's still my little brother. The title of leopard-slaying hero isn't bad, right?" "Not bad." Li Guochang looked at General Xing and asked, "Why did the arrow miss?" "Because I was nervous," General Xing said, "even though I don't want to admit it. But I was really nervous at that time." "You should be nervous." Li Guochang laughed and said, "We killed a leopard. The beast hunting garden will have a celebration feast for us tonight. What a waste of a leopard's head. The beast hunting garden's transfer station, a comprehensive service station for beast hunting teams to replenish their food, water, or ammunition. General Xing unloaded his load and walked over, looking at his little brother Jiang Junling, who was sitting by the window and admiring the snowy plains. He smiled and said, "What's wrong? Even the smartest person has a problem that he can't solve?" "Fang Yan," Jiang Junling said. "It's that kid again. What kind of problem did he give you this time?" The use of the word, again, proved that the two brothers had talked about Fang Yan quite a lot. "He didn't give me a problem." Jiang Junling pushed up his glasses and smiled warmly, saying, "He was demonstrating to me." "Demonstrating to you?" The cigarette in General Xing's mouth almost fell to the ground. "Demonstrating to you? What right does he have to demonstrate to you? What right does he have to demonstrate to you?" "Swallow Doc," Jiang Junling said. "What about Swallow Doc? What does Swallow Doc have?" General Xing's eyes widened, saying, "You mean Swallow Doc? Swallow Dock where the general gets off the horse and the prime minister gets off the carriage?" "That's Swallow Dock," Jiang Junling said. "So what?" "Swallow Dock doesn't belong to him alone." General Xing comforted her. "What kind of storm can a small character like him stir up? Swallow Dock doesn't belong to him alone, and it definitely doesn't belong to us," Jiang Junling said. "I never thought that I would waste so much time and energy on a nobody." General Xing looked at his brother and asked, "What can I help you with?" "Thank you." Jiang Junling smiled and shook his head. "I can solve this problem. It's just a matter of time." "You've never let us down," General Xing said. He patted Jiang Junling's shoulder and said, "Well then, I'll go to the next stop. Listen to you, bring the guards. I hope I can meet a bear." "Have fun," Jiang Junling said with a smile. When his brother's figure was far away, the smile on Jiang Junling's face slowly disappeared. His gaze once again turned to the snowy plain. His eyes were as cold as the snow on the plain. "Fang Yan, are you challenging me to a duel?" The fireplace was burning brightly. The girl was reading a poem from a book of poems. "The furthest distance in the world, not the distance between life and death. But I stand in front of you. You don't know that I love you. The furthest distance in the world, not I stand in front of you. You don't know that I love you." Ding. The phone on the cushion made a crisp sound. It was a notification tone. The girl looked at the message on the phone, then closed the book and stood up. She walked barefoot on the expensive carpet in the room. Even though the wind was howling outside and the snow was falling, she didn't feel cold at all. "This method is a good one," the girl said softly. "But if it's like this, wouldn't it be easier to anger him? He's a prideful person." The girl walked around the room a few times and understood a lot of things. Then she sat in front of the fireplace and read the poem again. "The furthest distance in the world, not I stand in front of you. You don't know that I love you. But I love you to the point of obsession. But I can't say that I love you. I've caught one too, I've caught one too," Jiang Qin shouted happily, jumping on the ice like a child. Fang Yan quickly stopped her, saying, "Don't jump, don't jump. Be careful that you don't step on the ice." Hearing Fang Yan's threat, Jiang Qin didn't dare to jump anymore. But the smile on her face was still bright. She raised the small white fish on the fishing rod and said, "Let's eat this fish for lunch today." "Who can eat this fish?" Wang Lin said with a smile. "It's not even enough for you. We can make it into fish soup. Everyone can drink one bowl," Jiang Qin said. "Plus, it's still early for lunch, maybe I can catch a lot more?" "I'll definitely catch more than you," Wang Lin said. "Today, I will definitely win." Jiang Qin didn't want to be outdone. Fang Yan invited Jiang Qin and Wang Lin to be his guests. Of course, it was not an invitation, but the two girls took the initiative to visit Fang Yan's parents, who were their aunt and uncle. They made such a friendly suggestion, how could Fang Yan refuse? He had to bring them back. The two girls were cute and sweet. Fang Yan's mother, Lu Wan, liked them very much. She wanted to keep them as her own daughters. Fang Yan knew that his mother had always wanted another daughter, but she couldn't get her wish. Originally, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin said they would stay at Fang Yan's house for a day. Now it had been 3 days, but Lu Wan still didn't want to let them go. She kept asking Fang Yan to take the 2 girls out to play. Sometimes, Fang Yan couldn't be lazy even if he wanted to. Lu Wan picked up the feather duster and was about to beat him. She had never been so strict with Fang Yan before. Therefore, Fang Yan used the skills that he used to play, such as catching birds in the bamboo forest, ambushing from all sides, and fishing by drilling ice on them again, making the 2 girls so happy that they forgot about home and home. It seemed like they were going to stay here in the future. In the past 2 days, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin had been holding a fishing competition. Yuan Lin won the first 2 times, so Jiang Qin was not convinced. Today, she was the first one to fish, so she naturally wanted to show off. Sniff. Yi Rou shook her wrist, and another herring, which was more than a foot long, was pulled up by her. The herring struggled desperately with its tail fin, making a beautiful and desperate arc. Yi Rou shook her wrist again, and the herring was off the hook and fell on the ice. Fang Yan quickly ran to catch the herring and put it into the small bucket. There was already half a bucket of fish in the small bucket, which was enough for them to eat for several days. Of course, Yi Rou was not allowed to participate in the fishing competition between Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. The reason they gave was that Sister Rou is too awesome. This was also the reason why Yi Rou was always unpopular. You were only a little better than others, but people thought that they had a chance to surpass you and were willing to play with you. You were always much better than others, and people wanted to die when they saw you. Who would want to play with you? Because Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin came, Fang Yan used the 2 girls as an excuse to invite Yi Rou out to entertain them. Because they were girls and he really didn't understand these things, Yi Rou actually believed Fang Yan's nonsense and really accepted Fang Yan's invitation. Therefore, these days, Fang Yan, Yi Rou, Jiang Qin, and Yuan Lin hung out together. Would Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin be willing to entertain them with Yi Rou? Besides, Fang Yan didn't know how to entertain them, but Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan knew. Fang Yingying had come to beg several times, but was kicked away by Fang Yan. Seeing Fang Yingying being kicked away, Fang Haohan looked at Fang Yan sadly for a few times, but dared not say anything excessive. Seeing Fang Yan staying by Yi Rou's side like a shadow, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin felt very uncomfortable. Jiang Qin said, "What's the relationship between Mr. Fang and Sister Rou?" "I don't know," Yuan Lin said in a low voice. "Could they be a couple? They live in the same village, and it's very likely that they are childhood sweethearts." Jiang Qin shook his head and said, "They don't look like it. I've observed them carefully. They hardly talk and Sister Rou has never smiled at Mr. Fang." "In this case, there is only one possibility," Yuan Lin said. "Mr. Fang is Sister Rou's pursuer, but Sister Rou doesn't like Mr. Fang. Mr. Fang is so poor." The 2 girls had infinite sympathy for Fang Yan in their hearts. Fang Yan squatted again beside the pony that Yi Rou was sitting on and said, "I have another question to ask. My Tai Chi heart was originally from the surface to the surface, but it changed from the surface to the line after the battle in the One Sword Peak last time. What will it become later? Will it get better or worse?" Yi Rou didn't answer. "I met a strange old Daoist. He showed me a trick of rejuvenating a withered wood. What's the principle behind it? Is it just Qi dynamic? Are there other things that I can't get in touch with?" Yi Rou still didn't answer, but her hand holding the pole trembled slightly. "There's also the problem of the old drunkard. The meridians on his wrists are cut off, so he can only use force but not Qi. I've asked many doctors and they said that it's impossible to reconnect his meridians. Does it mean that he can never use Qi again? If he can't use Qi, can you help him with his cultivation?" Yi Rou's eyebrows twitched, but she still didn't want to say anything. "Sigh, it seems that you can't solve this problem either. If you could, you would have already done something based on your friendship with the old drunkard. I still have another problem. Last time, my Tai Chi heart suddenly stopped working and disappeared. Do you think it will happen again in the future? If I'm fighting with a peerless expert at the peak of my power, and it suddenly stops working, wouldn't that be a dead end for me? Do you have any suggestions in this regard?" Yi Rou kicked Fang Yan's butt and his body slid forward. Plop. He fell into the cold ice hole, scaring away the fish that were about to take the bait. Can you change the topic? Yi Rou looked at Fang Yen, who was struggling and screaming in the ice water, and said coldly. Chapter 357. In the cold winter, the water was like a knife. The knife cut the flesh, the cold air froze the flesh, and attacked the internal organs. If an ordinary person fell into an ice cave in such a cold winter, he would be seriously ill. Of course, for people from Swallow Fort, even if he was a kid, it was just a small punishment or torture. For people like Fang Yen, who had the heart of Tai Chi to protect himself, not to mention being bathed in ice water, even if he was stabbed by an ice knife, who the hell dared to stab him? Fang Yen rolled around in the icy water. He reached out and grabbed the ice block, trying to get up. Unexpectedly, as soon as he exerted his strength, he heard a crisp cracking sound. The ice block in his hand broke and fell into the river. Yi Rou, you bitch, why did you hit me for no reason? Fang Yen cursed angrily in the water. What did I do to you? I just asked you a few questions, didn't I? Even if the questions were difficult and you couldn't answer them, you can't push me into an ice cave. I've taught so many students, and I've never physically punished them when they couldn't answer the questions. With your temperament, you will never be able to become a noble and great teacher. Idiot. Yi Rou looked up at the sky and said coldly. She didn't like cursing people. She liked to solve everything with her hands. Because she found that cursing people couldn't solve any problem. After cursing, she had to solve the problem with her hands. In this case, why didn't she just skip the useless process? However, there was a kind of person that you would feel sorry for if you didn't curse him. For example, Fang Yen. Since the first day he came back and visited the Yi family, he said that he had something to say to you. It has been a few days, and this is what he said to you. Why did my heart of Tai Chi become like this? What will my heart of Tai Chi become? Do you think my heart of Tai Chi will suddenly become a dead heart? Old drunkard, it's really so annoying. After breaking another 2 ice blocks, Fang Yen had to shout to Yi Rou, Yi Rou, help me, throw your whip over. Yi Rou didn't want to be gentle again. Who walks in front of their own house with a whip on their person? Of course, Yi Rou didn't leave him in the lurch. She threw the hook at Fang Yen. Fang Yen grabbed the fishing line and wrapped it around his arm twice. With a shake of her hand, Yi Rou lifted Fang Yen out of the water. Fang Yen untied the fishing line on his arm and looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin calmly and casually to prove to them that he was fine and that he was just joking with Yi Rou. He said, "Do I look like a mermaid?" Jiang Qin stared at Fang Yen for a while and said to Yuan Lin, "I told you they can't." Indeed. Yuan Lin nodded. Who would be so mean to their boyfriend? Fortunately, it's not, Jiang Qin said. Fortunately, it's not, Yuan Lin also said. Fang Yen knew that his disguise had failed and he had no prestige in front of these 2 girls. A gust of wind came and his body couldn't help shivering. He opened his mouth and wanted to say something but shivered again. Then he strode to the riverbank and said, "I'll go back and change my clothes." Crack! Fang Yen ran too fast and used too much force, so he broke the ice and fell into the ice hole again. Yi Rou, help me. Fang Yen patted the ice pieces in the ice water. Save me again. Yi Rou had to save him again. The only man in the group left, and the 3 women who were not familiar with each other stared at each other. Yi Rou could feel the faint hostility of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin to her, and she also knew that it was because of Fang Yen. However, Fang Yen was gone. As the host of Swallow Dock, she felt that she had the responsibility and obligation to take care of these 2 guests who came from afar. So, she tried to smile. At least she thought so. She looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin and said, "I can teach you how to fish." This was her way of expressing kindness, although it was not very natural and practiced. But it was indeed the best she could do. Her short hair was flying in the cold wind, and her red sportswear made her look like a red elf in this world of ice and snow. When she spoke, she looked at the eyes of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin very seriously. Her eyelashes were curved and her lips were slightly pursed, which made her look stubborn and cute. Yes, Yi Rou was really a stubborn and cute little girl. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at each other, and Jiang Qin immediately accepted Yi Rou's kindness. He said with a smile, "Thank you, Sister Rou." Yuan Lin immediately stuck to Yi Rou, holding her arm and said, "Sister Rou, can you teach us how to hunt rabbits?" Yi Rou was so accurate that Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin's eyes almost fell out. The two of them were really envious. They felt that if they learned this unique skill, would they still be short of rabbit meat in the future? Yi Rou was not used to this kind of contact with people. Maybe because Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked sweet and cute, she didn't reject their approach. Hearing Yuan Lin's request, Yi Rou looked serious. "What's wrong? Sister Rou doesn't want to teach us how to hunt rabbits?" "It's not easy to teach," Yi Rou said. "I've been practicing since I was a child." Yi Rou was worried that they would misunderstand, so she explained patiently, "It takes a long time." Picking up a small stone from the ground, lifting her wrist and throwing the stone could kill pheasants and hares. Even old hunters who had been wandering in the deep mountains and forests for more than 10 years couldn't do it. They still needed the help of tools like bows and arrows. It not only required high eyesight, accuracy, speed, strength and other aspects, but also Yi Rou used a little internal force. She really didn't have the confidence to make Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin so powerful in 2 or 3 days. Yuan Lin stuck out her tongue and said, "It's so troublesome." "Then we'll learn fishing from you first." Yi Rou let out a long sigh of relief. It was more difficult for her to deal with the children's request than to beat Fang Yan. Fang Yan changed his clothes and sat in the living room chatting with his mother. They hadn't seen each other for a while, so they had endless topics to talk about. They made a pot of charcoal fire and held a cup of fragrant tea. From time to time, they could hear laughter. It was a happy and harmonious atmosphere. Mainly, Fang Yan told his mother about his various experiences in Huaqing and his various dazzling achievements. Although Lu Wan knew that everything her son said should be discounted by 15% and squeezed hard to make it more believable, she still listened with great interest. Her son was her pride and her continuation in this world. It wasn't until the sky turned dark that Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin came back, huffing and puffing. "Mr. Fang, come help." They carried a small bucket together, which was actually filled with a bucket of live fish. There were too many fish in the water and the road was too slippery. They didn't have enough strength, so it was quite difficult for them to walk. Fang Yan hurried over to greet them. He was surprised to see the bucket full of big fish and said, "You too caught so many?" "Of course," Jiang Qin said proudly. Seeing Fang Yan looking at her with a playful look, Jiang Qin's little face suddenly turned pink. She said, "We caught a lot, and Sister Ru gave all the fish she caught to us. So we have this much." "No wonder," Fang Yan said. Yi Ru gave all the fish she caught to these two girls, so it was not strange at all to have such a bucket of fish. "Sister Ru taught us fishing today," Yuan Lin said as if she was showing off. She said, "Sister Ru," very smoothly and naturally. Compared with Sister Ru before, she was more enthusiastic and intimate. It was not as simple perfunctory. It seemed that they got along well this afternoon. "Sister Ru is very careful. She knew that we couldn't carry the bucket, so she helped us to carry it to the side of the pond. Then she let us carry it in by ourselves," Jiang Qin said. In just a moment, she was also conquered by Yi Ru's charm. "That's what I said," Fang Yan said with a smile. There was a long distance from the Shihizi River to the Fang's house. This bucket of fish was so heavy. How could Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin carry it back? It must be Yi Ru's help. "Where's Yi Ru?" Fang Yan asked. Jiang Qin rolled her eyes and said, "How can you call her by her name directly? We all call her Sister Ru. You can call her Ru." "I call her Ru?" Fang Yan was really angry with these two traitors. He said, "Who pushed me into the river just now? Why didn't you two speak up for me at that time? Now I call her Yi Ru, and you two can't stand it anymore?" "At that time, we also wanted to speak up for you," Jiang Qin said aggrievedly. "But we saw that you couldn't beat her. What if she got angry and threw us into the river too?" Yuan Lin said shamefully. "Our bodies are not as good as yours. If we fall into the water, we will definitely get sick." "Who asked you to fall into the water?" Lu Wan came out of the inner room and took Jiang Qin's and Yuan Lin's cold little hands. she said with heartache. Fang Yan, you bastard. Where did he take you to play on such a cold day? Look at how cold your hands are. Come back and have a cup of ginger tea to warm up your body. I know you are weak, so I asked someone to make it in advance. Fang Yan really wanted to cry but had no tears. Mom, you have to touch your conscience. Who forced me to take these two little kids out to play? Fang Yan walked to the door of the yard and had a look. Yi Ru had already disappeared. All that was left was the dusky sky and the fluttering snow. Lu Wan came over and looked outside the door. She said thoughtfully, maybe the toad really ate the swan meat. Mom, don't say that. Fang Yan looked at Lu Wan seriously and said, Yi Ru is not a toad. Chapter 358. Children don't despise their mothers for being ugly, and mothers don't despise their sons for being cheap. In the world, parents are the group who love their children the most. It was because his love was too deep that he always put himself in their shoes to think about problems. If their son is right, then he is right. If their son is wrong, then he must have a reason to be wrong. Their only son, Fang Yan, has been beaten by Yi Ru for years. He is often beaten black and blue and can't get out of bed for 30 or 50 years. Lu Wan must be dissatisfied with Yi Ru. That's understandable. Fang Yan didn't want his mother to have a deep prejudice against Yi Ru. He thought it was just a beautiful misunderstanding, so he tried to resolve it seriously. Although she often beats me, it's for my own good. Mom, think about it. If Yi Ru didn't beat me every year, how could I have made progress so fast? How could I have realized the heart of Tai Chi earlier than the old drunkard? At that time, everyone said that he was a rare martial arts genius. Although Yi Gentle was a little barbaric and liked to beat people, she wasn't a bad person. It's okay to say that Yi Ru is a toad in front of me, but you can't say it to others. That will affect the relationship between the Fang and the Yi. You know, the relationship between our two families was not very good before. I just went to melt the ice, and the Yi family seems to be willing to accept our kindness. Besides, you can't describe your son as a swan. I'm a red-crowned crane at most. Slap. Fang Yan was slapped on the head. Lu Wan, a gentle and graceful woman, couldn't stand her son's extreme narcissism and shamelessness. She put one hand on her waist and pointed the middle finger at Fang Yan's head with the other hand, scolding, Who said Yi Ru is a toad? When did I say Yi Ru is a toad? I said you are a toad and Yi Ru is a swan. What kind of swan are you? Is there a swan as ugly as you? I'm going to die of anger because of you. Mom, calm down. Fang Yan saw his mother was angry, so he quickly comforted her. Yi Gentle is not a toad, okay? I'm worried that you might have such thoughts and that you don't like Yi Ru. That's why I want to talk to you and get rid of the contradiction and knot in your heart. Since you said she's not a toad, it proves that you don't have any contradiction or knot in your heart. Isn't that a good thing? What conflict would I have? What knot could I have in my heart? Am I an ignorant village woman? Or do you think I'm stupid? How could I not know what Yi Ru has done for the Fang family? Am I not grateful? I'm a useless mother, and I still need a little girl to help me educate my son. Fang Yan blushed and said, Mom, don't say that. We were just sparring and I lost to her a few times. Why would you need her to teach your son? What? Are you ashamed now? Why haven't I seen you blush before? Didn't you say that you wanted to take revenge? Didn't you say that you would marry Yi Gentle as your daughter-in-law and beat her every day? Didn't you say that you would let her give birth to dozens of sons for you and make her ugly and disgusting? Fang Yan opened his eyes wide and said, Did I say that? Lu Wan nodded and said, You lost the 7th competition and one of your legs was broken by her. You drank too much in the backyard with underestimating enemy. When you were sent back, your mouth was full of such drunken words. It makes me angry. Who sent me back? Fang Yan asked. Hero and warrior, Lu Wan said. Fang Yan was relieved and said, That's good. No one else heard it, so it couldn't be passed to Yi Gentle's ears. Lu Wan sneered and said, Hero and Yi Gentle sent you back together. That day, Gentle was also drinking with underestimating enemy. You hugged someone and said such drunken words. Can you stop doing such things? Fang Yan only felt a chill on his back and a burst of fear in his heart. He said, "Yi gentle, did she say anything? What do you want her to say?" According to her character, she wouldn't say anything, would she? Of course. She turned around and left. "She didn't even say hello to us," Lu Wan said. "After your leg was healed, she found an excuse to beat you. I remember." Fang Yan slapped his thigh and said angrily, "I remember. She broke my leg in the competition and I had to lie in bed for more than 30 days to recover. Later, I couldn't lie in bed anymore, so I secretly invited Yi Fengxing and Li Xiaotian to the back mountain for a barbecue. We roasted a chicken. It was a pheasant, but she said that the chicken was lost by her family. I told her that it was a pheasant and couldn't be lost by her family. Besides, even if it was lost by her family, it was stolen by Li Xiaotian and the others. Because my leg was injured and I was injured, I was only responsible for eating and didn't catch the chicken. In the end, she still beat me, so, after Li Xiaotian and the others carried you back, when I bandaged you and applied medicine for you, although I felt you were very pitiful, I also thought you deserved it. Can you say that about a girl? A girl is willing to give birth to a child for you, which is a great blessing and luck. Is there any grievance that can't be solved? Can you take revenge on others in this way?" Fang Yan's forehead was covered with sweat. "Mom, what's wrong with you today? Words said when you are drunk, can they be counted?" Dusk came, and the snow was swirling. At the door of the small courtyard, the mother and son faced the boundless wilderness outside, saying intimate words that only they knew. Fang Yan was hit on the head again. Lu Wan pulled Fang Yan's ear and said, "Words said when you are drunk are not counted. You men like to say irresponsible words when you are drunk and do things that you don't want to be responsible for. I can take what you said as drunk words, but what do you want Yi Wenwan to think? Yi Wenwan is an innocent girl, but hearing you say that beating you is a light punishment. She didn't beat you to death because she left a root for our Fang family. What else are you not satisfied with? Mom, whose side are you on?" Fang Yan said angrily. "Anyway, I am your son. How can you speak for Yi Wenwan? She beat me like that and broke my leg. I was just complaining when I was drunk. That's not allowed, is it? Do we still talk about the law in our family? It's not against the law to complain, but it is against the law to beat people. Only your grandfather can deal with you with your temper." Lu Wan couldn't argue with Fang Yan, so she said with a sneer. "Grandpa." Fang Yan had a feeling of danger again. It was like when he heard that he scolded Yi Wenwan in front of her after he was drunk, not scolded, but made up his mind to marry her and make her give birth to a son for him. It was more dangerous than hearing that. What did he do? After your grandfather heard about it, he drank 2 liters of Shaozi alone. After he was drunk, he yelled that his grandson was promising, "Look, Grandpa is also on my side, which means I did the right thing," Fang Yan said. "Of course. Your grandpa went to the Yi family after he got drunk and proposed marriage to them. He said he wanted them to marry Yi Ro to you as their daughter-in-law." Lu Wan couldn't bear to see her son's complacent face, so she kept saying something shocking. Although Fang Yan was really stunned this time. Not only was he stunned, but he was also frightened by the news. Grandpa, he went to Yi family to propose marriage to Yi family? He hoped that Yi family would marry Yi Wenwan, their most cherished and cherished treasure, to me? Grandpa, how could he do such a thing? I understand, everything is clear now. No wonder the relationship between Yi family and Fang family became worse. No wonder Yi Wenwan almost beat me to death in the following competition. No wonder. Fang Yan thought of another thing. At that time, Yi Wenwan was also there to watch the duel between him and the Japanese sword god Chiba at the top of One Sword Peak. When his life was in danger and he was temporarily at a disadvantage, Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan couldn't help rushing to help, but they were stopped by Miss Yi. According to Fang Yingying, the way Miss Yi stopped them was very impolite. Yi Wenwan shouted at that time, which basically meant that if he died in the battle, she would go to challenge him. If I died in the battle, the old drunkard would go to challenge him. If all the masters of our Fang family died, there are other heroes of Wuxia to challenge him. It's not your turn to die. After the duel, Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan retold the scene to Fang Yan and thought about it with Fang Yan. Fang Yan thought about it by himself, while the two idiots squatted beside him and pretended that they were also working hard. What did Yi Wenwan mean by that? What did she mean by all the masters of our Fang family died? She used the word we, which meant that she also regarded herself as a member of the Fang family. Or was it just a slip of the tongue and they were thinking too much? Of course, Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan expressed a lot of dissatisfaction with Yi Wenwan's words. What made them most angry was that she said, "It's not your turn to die." What does that mean? We are also masters of the Fang family, okay? Why can't we die? If we want to die, we must die. If we have something to do, we must die. If we want to die, we must die every day. Fang Yan was stunned for a long time. Looking at his mother's delicate and dignified face, he said, "What did the Yi family say?" Lu Wan sighed softly and said, "At that time, Yi Daoxian, the second most hot-tempered of the three tigers of the Yi family, was also at home. He said that they wouldn't agree to let Yi Wenwan marry you unless the waterfall on Green Mountain flowed backward, the river didn't freeze in winter, and the toad ate swan meat." Chapter 359. The waterfall flowed backward, the river was not frozen, and the toad wanted to eat the swan's meat. Any of these three conditions could make people very embarrassed. What's more, they put forward three conditions at one go, and all three had to be fulfilled at the same time. Fang Yan was very calm, and Fang Yan was not angry at all. He looked at his mother Lu Wan with a bitter smile and said, "How much does the Yi family hate me? How could they put forward such harsh conditions?" "You can't think like that," Lu Wan said. "If I were Yi Ru's mother, I would not agree to marry my daughter to you. Mom, are you my mother or not?" Fang Yan stared at Lu Wan and said, "Am I not good?" "It's not that you are not good, but you are not good to Ru." Lu Wan looked at her son lovingly and said, "Everyone in Swallow Dock knows about you and Phoenix. You like Phoenix, and your grandpa went to the Yi family to propose for you. The Yi family did not do anything to your grandpa because he is not in good health. If the other families in Swallow Dock dared to propose, they would probably throw you into the pond at the door to feed the turtles. The Yi family is born to be prouder than the other families, and you know it." Fang Yan sighed softly and said, "Grandpa is really a bad matchmaker." "I thought so before," Lu Wan said. "Now I think he is really far-sighted. When he went to the Yi family to challenge for you, everyone thought he was asking for humiliation, but what happened? Who benefited in the end? It's you and the Fang family." "I'm going to talk to Grandpa," Fang Yan said. Lu Wan smiled and patted off the snow on Fang Yan's body, saying, "Go ahead. Your grandpa is not in good health. He can go out to play chess with others when the weather is good, but when the weather is cold, he can only stay in the room alone, which makes him very uncomfortable. You are not often at home now, and you underestimate the enemy. Usually, there is no one to talk to him." "I understand," Fang Yan said. "I'll bring a bottle of plum wine for him." Lu Wan closed the door and said, "Your grandfather's health is not good. He can't drink too much." Fang Hui gulped down the plum wine in the cup, wiped the wine stains on his mouth, and said, "Why can't I go to the Yi family to propose marriage? What's wrong with my grandson? Don't tell me he's not good enough for their daughter? Do you really think I'm worthy?" Fang Yan asked with a smile. "Of course," Fang Hui said without hesitation. "Although you were a little funny in the past, you're a man. As you grow older, you'll gain more knowledge. As you grow older, you'll become more and more capable. Look at you, when you were a teenager, you were always sneaking around and fighting with people. Have you done those things in the past few years?" Fang Yan regretted coming to chat with his grandfather to relieve his boredom. She had relieved the old man's boredom, but she herself was getting more and more depressed. Logically speaking, we old fellows shouldn't get involved in the affairs of the younger generation. Fang Hui stared at the wine pot in Fang Yan's hand, handed over his empty cup, and said, "Pour me another cup." "You're not my father. You're my grandfather," Fang Yan said grumpily. "This is the last cup. When I came here, my mother told me not to let you drink too much. I'm used to it. When I was young, I always called myself your father, and I accidentally became your grandfather. Feng Hui held the plum wine and smiled honestly. Then he stared at him and shouted, "What do women know? If you don't drink to your heart's content, is it drinking? Don't use your mother's words to shut me up. Although my legs are paralyzed, you don't dare to fight back if I want to beat you." Feng Yen thought what he said was very reasonable, and he was speechless. Who dared to beat his grandfather? The daughter of the Yi family is good. Feng Hui laughed. It's a blessing for you to marry the daughter of the Yi family, as well as the Feng family's blessing. You want to ride on the Yi family's coattails? Feng Yen sneered. I won't do such a spineless thing. Then you have to be able to ride on the Yi family's coattails. Who can ride on the Yi family's coattails? Feng Hui glanced at Feng Yen and said, Kid, I'm talking to you very seriously today. You can't let that kid of the Yi family down. What a good kid. Grandpa, you make it sound like the daughter of the Yi family won't marry anyone but your grandson. The waterfall flows backwards, the river doesn't freeze, and the toad eats swan meat. Which one of them can we do? That was before. Feng Hui said disdainfully. When the weather is better tomorrow, I'll go to the Yi family to propose for you. I don't believe that they dare to be dissatisfied with my grandson now. We'll change what they don't like, and one day they'll be satisfied. Feng Yen really wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He had only heard of people who cheated their fathers and cheated their sons, but he had never seen someone who cheated their grandson like this. The spring festival was approaching, and it would be New Year's Eve in a few days. Jiang Qin and Wang Lin had to go home for the festival no matter how reluctant they were. They didn't dare to not go home to reunite with their families on the New Year's Eve. Feng Yen booked plane tickets for Jiang Qin and Wang Lin to return to Huaqing in advance. He first sent the two girls back to school to pack their luggage, and then dragged them to the airport. Feng Yen was still driving the old car with a red flag. The scratches on the car had been repainted, and the damaged parts had been repaired. Although it looked more beautiful than before, Feng Yen still felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. He still liked the natural color that had been preserved by the frost of time and the baptism of wind and snow. Because Feng Yen felt uncomfortable in his heart, he thought about the repair money he got from Huang Yida a few times. Thinking that he still owed him a few million yuan, his depressed mood was relieved a lot. Jiang Qin and Wang Lin were really depressed. Jiang Qin sighed and said, Mr. Feng, I really don't want to go back. Me too. Wang Lin echoed. Swallow Dock is still fun. Grandpa is very good to us and always tells us funny stories. And Sister Wenro, she taught us a lot of things, and every time she catches a fish, she will give it to us. She also doesn't want us to go back. We have to go back, Feng Yen said with a smile. Jiang Qin, your mother knows that you are here, and has already called me a few times, asking me when you will go back. If you don't go back, I'm afraid Sister Li will kill her way back to Yanjing. It's better to kill her way back. Then we will all stay in Swallow Dock to celebrate the festival. Jiang Qin said happily. Wang Lin also wanted to say the same thing, but her mouth opened, but she couldn't say it. Her family was different from Jiang Qin's, and she didn't have the confidence to persuade everyone in her family to come to Swallow Dock for the festival. It's okay, the gate of Swallow Dock will be open to you at any time. Feng Yen comforted. He thought, these two little kids finally went back. In the future, no one would force him to wander around the village with the two kids, go skating in the stone river on a cold day, catch birds in the bamboo forest, and hunt pheasants and rabbits in the woods at the back of the mountain. He could have a good sleep for a few days. That's great. Then we will go back to school early after the spring festival, and then come to Swallow Dock to find you, Jiang Qin said excitedly. Wang Lin's eyes also lit up, and she said, I think that's good too. That's not good, right? Feng Yen said awkwardly. Then it's decided. Jiang Qin and Wang Lin said happily. After sending Jiang Qin and Wang Lin through the security check, he casually tossed them a handful of tears of extreme sadness, and then drove back to Yanjing City in high spirits. After getting off the airport highway, Feng Yen was about to turn directly to the road to Swallow Dock when the phone in his pocket rang. Fang Yan took out his phone and saw that the caller ID was Yi Fengsheng's number. Fang Yan stopped the car by the roadside, pressed the answer button and asked, "Fatty, what's up?" Run. No, Fang Yan, where are you? Fatso's Yi Fengsheng's voice came from the other side of the phone. I just got off the airport highway. Fang Yan said. He thought, I have to find a way to erase the nickname Run Fang. It would affect my glorious and great image too much. I went to your house to find you, and I knew you were in the city. That's why I called you. Are you in the city now? Wait for me in the city. Us brothers can have a gathering. Where is the gathering? Fang Yan asked. Go to Nanshan Hill for dinner first. Li Xiaotian will arrange tonight's event. Yi Fengsheng said. Fang Yan thought about it. He didn't have anything to do at home, so he said, Okay, I'll wait for you guys at Nanshan Hill. See you later. I'm already on my way. Yi Fengsheng said. Fang Yan started the car again and ran towards Yanjing City that was covered by the wind and snow. Nanshan Hill was a restaurant, and it was also the place where Fang Yan and his buddies often gathered. Fang Yan parked the car at Nanshan Hill's parking lot, and Yi Fengsheng also rushed over in his domineering Land Rover. Yi Fengsheng very proudly honked his horn as a greeting to Fang Yan. After the two parked the car, Yi Fengsheng moved his fat butt and ran over. He put his arm around Fang Yan's shoulder and said, Let's eat first. I'll take you out to see the world tonight. If you want to drink or look at women, you don't have to call me. You know, I'm not that kind of person. Fang Yan said. Yi Fengsheng glanced at him with disdain and said, My sister beat you like a dog, and you still want to chase after her. Do you think I'll look up to you and say good things about you in front of her just because you said that to me? I'm telling you, that's impossible. In our hearts, you will always be Run Fang. You really won't. I really won't. I just like your stubborn attitude. Fang Yan hugged Yi Fengsheng back and asked, Where are you taking me tonight? Do you know Luqi? Yi Fengsheng asked excitedly. One of Huaxia's 7 addicts, Luqi? Fang Yan's eyes also lit up. Chapter 360. At a gathering of best friends, they naturally had to eat big chunks of meat, drink big bowls of wine, and comment on the hottest women. Come, let's toast to our Pretty Flower Group in Yanjing City. Yi Fengsheng, the senior member of Pretty Flower Group who was the least like Pretty Flower Group, raised his cup first and shouted, Cheers! A group of men raised their bowls and slammed them together. Bang! Wine splashed everywhere. Everyone imitated the heroic manner of drinking. They raised their heads and the bottom of the bowl was very high. They swallowed while the wine flowed sideways. Only half of the wine went into their stomachs. Everyone was doing this. No one was stupid. Fang Yan, Li Xiaotian, Ruan Jing, Zhu Ziden, plus Qin Yanqing, who was currently working in a ministry in Yanjing City, and Wang Kaxian, who had moved into the military compound because of the promotion of his father's position. To be able to gather so many people at once was indeed a matter worth being happy about. Qin Yanqing walked to Fang Yan with a bowl of wine and said with a smile, Running Fang, let's have a drink. Not everyone dares to stand you row up. You're the first one. Just for this, I have to toast to you. That's not running, Fang Yan said with a smile. I just don't feel very well, so I wanted to go out for a walk and take a breather. But that walk led to watching? Yi Fengsheng said with a sneer. If anyone believes your nonsense, my sister will have to wait 1.5 years in the Fang family's martial arts hall before she can fight with you again. Fang Yan was not angry. He said confidently, What's the fighting principle of our pretty boy group? Isn't it just to fight if we can win, and run if we can't? I can't beat Yi-Ro, but I can run faster than her. Running Fang is right. Wang Kaxian slapped the table in agreement. If you can't beat her, you're an idiot. Fang Yan running might not be good, but at least you can avoid a beating. Fengsheng, it's not like you don't know your sister's methods. I only went to see her twice and refused to go the 3rd time. If you were Fang Yan, would you run? Yi Fengsheng rolled his eyes and said, Am I an idiot? Why would you challenge my sister? Everyone laughed heartily. The men from Swallow Dock were all fond of wine, especially of burning knives. Nanshan restaurant didn't have xiaodao, so they drank a box of Red Star ergot. After finishing a box of ergotu, Li Xiaotian counted the empty bottles on the table and said, "I say, let's call it a day. There's still a big show waiting for us." Everyone's eyes lit up. Wang Kaixin said excitedly, "Li Shan, can you really take us to see Li Qi? I heard that the woman is very arrogant and rarely shows her face outside. Countless people can't even get a chance to see her even if they have 1,000 taels of gold. So what if it's thousands of gold?" It said that in order to save face in front of his friends, the son of a coal boss in Xixia threatened to give a building as a gift for every song he played. The music addict ignored him and turned around to leave, Zhu Ziden said. Li Xiaotian's face was full of pride as he said, "Normally, I wouldn't dare to guarantee anything for you guys. But today, don't worry, leave it to me." "Who is my cousin?" "Bruce Lee." Li Xiaotian's cousin was indeed called Li Xiaolong. Of course, he was not the international superstar who died young. He just had the same name as that person. Li Xiaolong was not good at martial arts, but he was good at business. Relying on his family's connections and resources, he rose rapidly in Yanjing City, which was a place of tigers and dragons, and he did get to know some very powerful people. It snowed heavily in Guangnan a few days ago, and the people of Guangnan were seriously affected. Tonight, a high-profile charity auction would be held at the Maple Leaf Club in Yanjing. In order to increase the gimmick and expand the influence of the auction, the organizers not only invited some popular stars to sing on the stage, but also specially invited Li Qi Shui Yun, one of the 7 addicts of Huaxia, to perform on the stage. A stone stirred up 1,000 ripples, and one person caused chaos in Yanjing City. Hearing that Li Qi Shui Yun was going to perform at the charity auction, those high-ranking officials and nobles naturally wanted to see the elegant demeanor of Li Qi, and the active ladies of Yanjing were even more scrambling. In the words of a certain child, "If you can't make it to the auction tonight, how can you call yourself a first-class person in Four Corner City?" Li Xiaolong was also from Swallow Dock, but because he was older than Fang Yen and the others, they did not have many opportunities to contact each other. But this time, Fang Yen and the others could have the opportunity to see the true face of Li Qi, and it was indeed because of Li Xiaolong's help. Speaking of the various legends of Li Qi, everyone was even more itchy. Yi Fengsheng paid the bill by swiping his card. All the brothers had drunk a lot and did not dare to drink and drive in Yanjing City, so they asked the restaurant to arrange 3 designated drivers. The group of people took 3 cars and rushed to the famous and mysterious Maple Leaf Club in Yanjing City. The weather this year was much colder than in previous years, and the snow was endless. The wheels broke the ice and crushed the snow on the ground, but the inside of the car was as warm as summer. Li Xiaotian called his cousin in advance, and Li Xiaolong said that he still had something to deal with and might be a little late, but someone would greet him at the door of the club. Maple Leaf Club was one of the new top clubs in Yanjing City. It was said to be new because it had not been established for a long time, and it could be regarded as a rising star in the club world. Unlike the previous 4 clubs of Huaxia, such as the Capital Club, the Chang'an Club, the America Club, and the Huaxia Club, which focused on male organizers and members, Maple Leaf Club was said to be formed by a group of extremely low-key but dazzling women. This group of women was not inferior to men, and they firmly believed that women could also hold up half the sky. Not only did they achieve extraordinary achievements in the areas of accumulation of contacts, economic operation, and the right to speak, but they also far surpassed the other old clubs in fashion shows, wine tasting parties, art appreciation, and food festivals. During the snow disaster in the south, Maple Leaf Club took the lead in holding a charity auction in Yanjing City, and all the proceeds were used to buy materials for the victims in the south. Not only did they win fame, but they also expanded the influence and reputation of the club, which was killing many birds with one stone. The Maple Leaf Club was located on the busiest Black Tortoise Street in Yanjing City. A 50-story building went straight into the sky, and the entrance was crowded with famous cars and celebrities. There were even media reporters taking pictures outside the courtyard. Of course, it was impossible for them to squeeze into the center. because the security measures outside were too strict. As soon as Fang Yan and his friends got out of the car, a middle-aged man in a black suit and glasses quickly came to greet them. The middle-aged man was a member of the Li family, and also an uncle who came to Swallow Fort to make a living. He was very familiar with Fang Yan and the others. After greeting Fang Yan, Yi Fengxing, and the others, he walked to Li Xiaotian and said, "Xiaotian, Mr. Li asked me to pick you up." "Thank you, Uncle Biao." Li Xiaotian was very respectful to the middle-aged man. Li Biao smiled and said, "What are you thanking me for? We're all family. Mr. Li is busy meeting an important guest, otherwise he would have come by himself." "Then my brother won't come today?" Li Xiaotian asked with some regret. "Mr. Li will come," Li Biao said. Li Biao led the group to a special sightseeing elevator. After swiping the card, the elevator door opened automatically. He waited until everyone had walked in, then he pressed the letter H, turned around and explained to Fang Yan and the others, "This building is all the property of the Maple Leaf Society, but tonight's auction will be held on the top floor, Starlight World." "Starlight World? What kind of place is that?" Li Xiaotian asked doubtfully. "You'll know when you go in," Li Biao said with a smile. In less than 40 seconds, the elevator stopped. Then Fang Yan and his friends were shocked by the scene in front of them. They finally understood what the so-called Starlight World meant. The top floor of the whole building was a huge, vast, and magnificent room. There were partitions and no obstacles, and people could walk freely in the room. However, it would probably take some time to walk through the whole room. The top floor of the whole room was made of an oval glass wall. There was no steel frame, as if it was carved out of a natural crystal. White light shone in, which was reflected by the snow on the top floor. The frost could be seen, but the wind could not be heard. In some places where the frost was thin, snowflakes could be seen dancing in the wind. One could imagine how beautiful this starlight world would be in summer when the sky was full of stars. Fang Yan said with a smile, "The owner of this club is really broad-minded and bold." "And a lot of money," Ruan Qian said with a smile. "Just this piece of glass is enough for me to live a carefree life." Li Biao said with a smile, "Feel free to walk around, I won't disturb you." "Thank you, Uncle Biao," Fang Yan said gratefully. Li Biao patted Fang Yan's shoulder, turned around, and walked outside. Yi Fengxing looked around and said, "I'm really curious. I heard that this club was built by a few women. Who are they? It would be great if I could get to know them." "A toad wants to eat swan meat." A sarcastic voice came. "Who's scolding me?" Fang Yan thought angrily in his heart. These 2 days, he was very sensitive to the phrase, "A toad wants to eat swan meat." As long as someone said it in front of him, his first reaction was that the person was scolding him. Behind them stood a thin man wearing glasses. The man stared at Yi Fengxing fiercely and said, "Yi Fengxing, you really don't know how long your face is. Fatso doesn't know how fat he is. You want to meet the 3 maple leaves of the Maple Leaf Society? Who do you think you are?" When Fang Yan was sure that the person was not scolding him, he was relieved. He thought to himself, "I knew it. How can my popularity be so bad that people hate me wherever I go? Besides, I'm safe and not cheap anymore. How can you still scold me?" Chapter 361. Fang Yan felt that he had a naturally mocking face. Anyone who saw him would want to punch him. Swallow Dock had fled to Huaqing. How much trouble had he caused in just half a year? The enemies behind his buttocks were like a lump of sheep's dung. There was no end to them. Fang Yan always felt that those who bullied him did not truly understand him. If they could calm down and understand him, they would definitely think of a way to kill him. Yes, he was a good person. He was a low-class, good-for-nothing good person. He was not greedy for the dark, did not blend in with evil. He was talented and righteous. For such a kind person, how could those bad people let him live a happy and long life? They would definitely think of a way to get rid of Fang Yan, this thorn in their side. This was because Fang Yan's existence would illuminate the dark and damp depths of their hearts. He would judge their ugly minds and rotten, pus, and blood hearts. Like mosquitoes under the light, Like maggots roasted by the sun, they would reveal their true colors and have nowhere to hide. Good and evil were natural enemies. It was difficult to reconcile. Yes, that was what Fang Yan thought. Don't bully me. Those who bully me are bad people. Thank the heavens, no one bullied him today. However, it didn't feel good to see his friend being insulted. Fang Yan looked at Yi Fengxing in confusion and asked, "You know him?" "Jiang Pingji, a scum." Yi Fengxing curled his lips and said carelessly, "Last time in Kunlun he tried to hit on my girl and I taught him a lesson." "You're not talking about that little pepper from Bailey clan, are you?" Fang Yan asked. "You speak as if she's the only girl I have." Yi Fengxing was very dissatisfied with Fang Yan's question. "But she was the one I brought last time. You go first," Fang Yan said. "Shout when you need help. Everyone, let's trample him. We men of Swallow's Dock won't do something like bullying others when we are outnumbered." "No problem. Just wait and see." Yi Fengxing looked at Jiang Pingji with a murderous look and said, "I alone am enough. No matter if it's civil or military, he's not strong enough." Yi Fengxing walked up to Jiang Pingji, shaking his big butt. He stared at the pretty boy's face and asked, "Have you seen the 3 golden flowers of the Maple Leaf Society?" "Of course I have." Jiang Pingji felt a little guilty, but since Yi Fengxing had thrown out the problem, he could only bite the bullet. Otherwise, wouldn't the words he used to scold Yi Fengxing just now fall on him? "Then tell us, who are the 3 golden flowers?" "Why should I tell you?" Jiang Pingji sneered. "If you're ignorant, then read more. If you're incapable, then lower your head more. Don't run out with your head held high like a giant dumb bird and get laughed at." Yi Fengxing was stunned for a while. He looked at Jiang Pingji and said, "That sentence makes so much sense that I'm speechless. If you're ignorant, then read more. If you're incapable, then lower your head more." He had clearly never seen the 3 golden flowers before, and he might not even have heard of their famous names. Yet, he pretended to be very familiar with them. This kind of shameless act of sticking gold on his own face was not something an ordinary person could do. "I suggest you do it less in the future. Those who can attend tonight's gathering are all famous people. Maybe someone who doesn't like you will come out and give you a few slaps." Yi Fengxing suddenly raised his voice and shouted, "What? You said you're very familiar with the 3 founders of the Maple Leaf Society? You even ate hot pot together at Nanshan 2 days ago and drank until 4 in the morning last night. Is that true? Brother Jiang, you can't lie to me." With Yi Fengxing's shout, some of the guests who had just walked in naturally cast their gazes over. Jiang Pingji's face turned red from being stared at by so many people. He stared fiercely at Yi Fengxing and said, "Yi, we formed a grudge. Just wait and see. We formed a grudge last time, okay?" Yi Fengxing sneered. "Last time I could slap your left cheek, this time I can slap your right cheek? If you don't believe me, let's go out and spar?" Jiang Pingji, of course, didn't want to spar with Yi Fengxing. Yi Fengxing came from Swallow Dock. Although he wasn't as strong as geniuses like Fang Yan, Bailey Lu, and Bai Xiu, he was more than enough to deal with the 3-horned cats outside. This was also the reason why he rarely suffered losses in Yanjing City. Last time, Jiang Pingji let his bodyguard challenge Yi Fengxing one-on-one. The bodyguard lost, and he also suffered. Now, he naturally wouldn't suffer such a loss again. All brawn and no brains. Jiang Pingji pointed at Yi Fengxing, turned around, and walked into the crowd. Seeing that it was just a few young people quarreling, everyone continued to talk and laugh as they walked inside. In a gathering like this, it would be very boring if there wasn't any excitement. Fang Yan took the champagne from Wan Qian and said, "What did you say to that girl from Bailey Lu's family?" "What can I do? She has long been conquered by my heroic bearing and profound knowledge," Yi Fengxing said with a face full of pride. "Whether or not I want her, it's just a matter of a word." Fang Yan laughed out loud and said, "Why do I feel that you can listen to the opposite of what you said? Run, Fang, run. If you're like this, no one wants to be friends with you," Yi Fengxing said angrily. "Shu, keep a low profile," Fang Yan advised. "Look at the others. The women are dressed in beautiful dresses, high heels, long legs, beautiful and dignified. The men are dressed in suits and leather shoes, refined and elegant, handsome and extraordinary, looking very stylish. We can't act too different and let others misunderstand that we're hooligans who sneak in to eat and drink. If the security guards come to chase us away, we'll be embarrassed, and Brother Xiao Long will also lose face, right? Come, everyone be refined, be refined. Thus, Fang Yen and a group of friends held the golden champagne and sipped it, talking about Nietzsche, Kant, value and the distribution of capital wealth, and other big issues that affected the entire human society. As expected, the gazes that looked at them immediately became joyful and gentle. Everyone was the same kind of person. Did you see that? The guy hugging the girl in the red cheongsam is a famous Casanova in Yanjing. His father is the big boss of the mountain group, with a net worth of more than 10 billion yuan. Li Shaoqing is here. He starred in All the Inheritors from the Stars, which is very popular in Asia, and now he's very popular. It's said that he's been secretly scouted by the director. That fair and gentle guy with glasses is gay. He's very famous in the Yanjing circle. Li Xiaotian and Yi Fengxing, these guys who often hung out in Yanjing City, kept introducing some special people to Fang Yen, and Fang Yen also seriously memorized the information. Maybe he could use it at any time. Another group of people rushed in. The man in the lead was tall, wearing a black suit and a white shirt with 2 buttons unbuttoned. He didn't wear a bow tie or tie like other men, making him look more unrestrained than others. Seeing that man, many people took the initiative to greet him. Young Master Jiang, you're finally here. Without young Master Jiang's gathering, I always feel that something is missing. A woman in a white dress came forward and held General Xing's arm, saying with a flattering expression, if someone else received such praise, they would probably become public enemy number 1. However, when the woman said this so calmly and directly in front of so many men, the men present didn't have any strange reactions. Of course, Teacher Fang Huohuo was an exception. Teacher Fang Huohuo was not only an exception, but also very surprised. Young Master Jiang? Another member of the Jiang family? Why are they haunting me? Fang Yen thought angrily. Young Master Jiang, you have to contribute more to the disaster area today. Do you even need to say that? When has young Master Jiang ever been stingy? More and more people gathered around General Xing, and the group became bigger and bigger. He had a completely mesmerizing appearance. What was even more surprising was that not only women were fascinated by him, but men were also fascinated by him. Even some of the older people expressed their deep affection for him. This made people have a whole new level of respect for him. Fang Yen was originally worried that he would be discovered by General Xing, and the two of them would have a hot-blooded, blood-spurting fight between a loser and a rich man in front of everyone. Now that the crowd had surrounded General Xing, even if he walked in front of Fang Yen, he probably wouldn't be able to see Fang Yan's existence. General Xing handled this kind of situation with ease. While dealing with the ambiguity of the beauties and eating some not too big but sweet tofu, he also had an intimate and harmonious conversation with the young masters who followed him or the people in charge of certain groups. General Xing, Yi Fengxing stood next to Fang Yen and said with a cold face, he's very famous, but has very little ability. He's a playboy. You're definitely no stranger to his younger brother. Children should be like Jiang Junling. He's talking about his younger brother. The two of them don't seem to be born from the same mother at all. Fang Yan's eyes were fixed on General Xing in the middle of the crowd, and he said with a smile, don't say his name, don't look at his appearance, I can guess that he's born from the same mother. Why do you say that? Yi Fengxing asked doubtfully. No one thought that General Xing was similar to Jiang Junling. General Xing was elegant, and he was proud of the flowers. Jiang Junling was gentle and ordinary. If his name was not mentioned, everyone would think that he was a teacher or a writer when they saw him. No one associated him with the famous Jiang Junling. The way of showing off is exactly the same. Fang Yen said with a smile. One pretends to be an ordinary person, and is very anxious to tell others not to look at me with strange eyes, that I actually don't have any ability, that I'm just an ordinary young man. Do real ordinary people need to pretend like this? One pretends to be a playboy. He's obviously very ambitious, but he still pretends to be disgusting, as if he doesn't care about anything, that he won't fight with you for anything. I say, isn't their acting a bit too bad? How can this kind of trash become a role model? Chapter 362. Fang Huohuo was such a down-to-earth person. He wouldn't be unwilling to praise you in front of your face just because you were his friend, and he wouldn't hide his negative views of you just because you were his enemy. For example, General Hang and the Jiang Junling brothers. If you didn't like them, then you didn't like them. If you didn't like them, then you had to tell the reason why you didn't like them. Who knows, maybe other people wouldn't like them after hearing it? As expected, after hearing Fang Yan's comments, Yi Fengxing, Zhu Ziden and the others were indeed a bit confused. After thinking about it from a different perspective, they realized that Fang Yan's words were very reasonable and they couldn't refute him. Yi Fengxing was stunned for a while, then said, I used to think that it was good for them to act pretentious like this, but after hearing what you said, I think they're really stupid. They're a bit too childish. Why don't we help them redesign their pretentious path? That won't do, it'll be easily seen through. Pretentious is a skill. Ruan Qian smiled shyly and said, Not everyone can be like me, pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. You're pretending to be a tiger to eat a pig, aren't you? Yi Fengxing sneered. Those girls that were tricked by you to come to Swallow Dock are all as stupid as pigs. You're so skilled, repeating the same trick again and again, and there are still people who keep falling for it. I say, where did you find these idiotic girls? Introduce me to a few? You insulted me and still want me to share my secret with you. Do you think I'll tell you? Ruan Qian said angrily. General Hang still discovered Fang Yan, because someone pointed him out. The person who pointed him out was Li Guochang, and the person who fanned the flames in front of Li Guochang was Jiang Pingji. Jiang Pingji could be arrogant and despotic in Yanjing City mainly because he was a distant relative of Li Guochang. Originally, the two of them didn't have much contact, but as Jiang Pingji's father displayed more and more talent and value, he was gradually accepted and valued by the Li family. Wang Pingji didn't know Fang Yan, but he remembered Yi Fengxing in his heart. Last time, Yi Fengxing had beaten him up, and this time, he had humiliated him in front of everyone. He had been thinking of revenge, but could not find a way to do so. Just like what Yi Fengxing had said, they couldn't win against him in scolding or fighting. What should they do? Jiang Pingji's eyes lit up when he saw Li Guoqiang accompanying the young master of the general family, Jun Xing. He thought of a ruthless way to take advantage of the situation. If Li Guoqiang was willing to stand up for him, then he would be able to settle his old and new grudges all at once. Even if Yi Fengxing was barbaric and overbearing, how could he dare to challenge Li Guoqiang, who had a deep foundation in Yanjing City and had a close relationship with the young master of the Jiang family? As long as he wasn't stupid, he could only swallow this loss. Therefore, Jiang Pingji found an opportunity to go to Li Guoqiang's side and told him that he had been bullied. Of course, all the responsibility was pushed onto Yi Fengxing. He himself became a hero who couldn't bear to see a weak woman being bullied and used force to save her. Li Guoqiang looked in the direction Jiang Pingji was pointing and saw a familiar face. Fang Yan, the guy who made Jiang Junling suffer setbacks again and again, and even his close friend, Jiang Pingji, maintained a high degree of attention on him? He had seen Fang Yan's photo, but this was the first time he had seen Fang Yan in person. From his point of view, Fang Yan looked younger and more spirited than in the photo. His eyes were quick-witted and his temperament was calm. He had the vigor of a youth and the steadiness of a middle-aged man. This was a contradictory person. This kind of person was not easy to deal with. Li Guoqiang felt that it was necessary to tell this matter to Jiang Pingji, so he casually walked to his side and said in a low voice, Fang Yan is here. Jiang Pingji's footsteps paused and he looked towards Li Guoqiang. Jiang Pingji was like a gorgeous carriage, and the people surrounding it were all horses pulling it. The carriage suddenly stopped, and the horses pulling it naturally felt it deeply. They looked at Jiang Pingji in confusion, thinking that he had met some important person and needed to greet him. In this kind of gathering, some people could be perfunctory, while others needed to be affectionately greeted. It was normal for a big shot like General Xing to stop and greet some people who were the center of attention. General Xing hesitated for a moment before walking in the direction of Fang Yan. Fang Yan was standing next to him. He walked towards Fang Yan, but in fact he had changed from going straight to turning right. Jiang Pingji's eyes widened, and his face flushed with excitement. Guanyin Bodhisattva, Gautama Buddha, I only wanted to ask Li Guoqiang to help me teach Yi Fengsheng a lesson. Why did I have to ask young Master Jiang to come out personally? If the matter of the eldest young master helping him get back his face was spread out, who would dare to challenge him in Yanjing City in the future? Jiang Pingji secretly decided that he would be young Master Jiang's dog from now on. She would bite whoever he wanted her to bite, and if he wanted her to eat sh*t, she would eat sh*t. General Xing was walking in the direction of Fang Yan, and Yi Fengsheng was standing next to him. It was no wonder that Jiang Pingji would misunderstand that General Xing was trying to support him. Jiang Pingji naturally would not miss such a good opportunity to humiliate Yi Fengsheng. He squeezed through the crowd and rushed to the left side of General Xing. He pointed at Yi Fengsheng and said, "Young Master Jiang, it's him." General Xing looked at him in confusion. Who was this idiot who seemed to be very familiar with him? Jiang Pingji thought that General Xing did not understand Yi Fengsheng's crime and could not question him, so he asked him for advice. He hurriedly said, "He is Yi Fengsheng. I stopped him from molesting a good girl in Kunlun Club. In the end, he harbored hatred and repeatedly humiliated me. Just now, he became even worse." Jiang Pingji. Li Guoqiang raised his eyebrows and stared at him angrily. He shouted, "Shut up." So, Jiang Pingji did not dare to speak anymore. His widened eyes revealed the doubt in his heart. What had happened? Fang Yan also saw General Xing. He knew that General Xing was here for him even before Jiang Pingji did, because the direction where he was standing belonged to an isolated group. In this group, there were only him and a few of his die-hard friends from Swallow Dock. General Xing would only come to find him, and he could only come to find him. Before they got close, the two of them had already communicated with their eyes. It was not ferocious and ruthless, and there were no flashes of swords. There was probing and some gentleness. He's not hostile, Fang Yan thought to himself. How can he not be hostile? General Xing walked in front of Fang Yan. After looking him up and down, he laughed and said, "Fang Yan." Fang Yan. Fang Yan also smiled. His smile was very shy. He was like a student who had been named by the principal, or an outstanding young teacher who was praised by the leader, but was still not used to such an honor. General Xing took the initiative to extend his hand to Fang Yan and said, "I have heard a lot about you. We finally meet today. It should be okay to shake hands, right?" "Of course." Fang Yan generously shook General Xing's hand and said, "I should be the one who said I have heard a lot about you. The rumors about the young Master Jiang are rich and interesting. It is an honor to be able to meet him in person today." "Are you scolding me?" General Xing said, pretending to be angry. "The rumors about me are all bad ones. They say that I spent millions of dollars to buy a beauty's smile, that I fought with others over a female celebrity, that I went hunting in the Yundian forest but got hit in the crotch by a bear, so my penis is useless. Oh right, there are also people who say that I like gay men, especially those pretty boys with red lips and white teeth. Who wouldn't like to hear such rumors? If these rumors didn't happen to me, I would probably listen to them with as much interest as you." Everyone laughed. They all said that young Master General was humorous. Some people looked at Fang Yan thoughtfully. They wondered why this guy could be so favored by General Xing. What was his background? Jiang Junling was tall. His long hair was combed back, revealing his deep and charming facial features. He didn't like to wear glasses like his younger brother. When he spoke, his eyes looked at you sincerely and warmly, giving people the feeling of a good uncle. He was elegant, and able to lift heavy things as if they were light. He spoke casually, but it was easy to gain the favor of others. Such a guy, Fang Yan thought to himself. He has Jiang Junling, a person from the Great Yin, as his younger brother. He must be very unhappy. However, Jiang Junling probably doesn't like having an older brother who knows how to build connections, right? Fang Yan let go of General Xing's hand and said, "That's why, young Master General, you have to maintain your style, maintain your standards, and create more rumors. Think of it as giving benefits to us fans." Everyone laughed again and praised Fang Yan for being humorous. Some girls also glanced over. They felt that Fang Yan had a handsome appearance, a refined manner, and a sharp tongue. He fit the image of a fresh meat in their hearts. If they could talk in private, having a friendly meal, drinking a cup of coffee, or going on a date was also a good thing. That won't do. There will be a lot of celebrities here tonight. I can't steal their limelight, General Xing said with a smile. He pointed at Fang Yan and raised his voice as he introduced him to the surrounding guests. Perhaps everyone is still a little unfamiliar with this little brother, Fang Yan, the square, in Chinese, the yin in Chinese. Some of them had a look of understanding on their faces, but most of them were confused. Speaking of the name Fang Yan, you might not be familiar with it. However, it was this little brother who caused my younger brother, Jiang Junling, to suffer many setbacks in Huaqing and return to the capital in a sorry state. What an amazing young man, General Xing said with a face full of praise, as if he was an expert guiding a younger generation. Fang Yan's eyes were slightly cold, revealing a hint of killing intent. This was flattery. Chapter 363. Cling. As if they were avoiding a terrifying monster, the people surrounding them couldn't help but take a step back. Because everyone's movements were too uniform, it was as if everyone present had discussed it in advance, causing this originally embarrassing scene to be filled with the beauty of a drama. Fang Yan wasn't scary, but the Fang Yan who caused Jiang Junling to suffer setbacks in Huaqing, and it was said that even his women were stolen by him, was not someone they were willing to come into contact with. The men who had just praised Fang Yan's wit and humor wanted to slap themselves in the face. The young ladies who originally thought that he was a young and tender little fresh meat suddenly felt that this man really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, and was seeking his own death. Of all the people he could offend, he just had to offend the men of the Jiang family. Originally, the conflict between Fang Yan and Jiang Junling was only spread within a small circle, but when it was exposed in public by General Xing, it was tantamount to using a loudspeaker to announce to all the people of Yanjing. It only needed one night to ferment, or even less time, for this matter to become a hot topic of discussion in various circles of Yanjing. And General Xing coming here in public was naturally not to exchange feelings and establish friendship with his younger brother's friend. At least, no one would think so. Thus, other than General Xing and a few hardcore people standing beside him who didn't retreat, everyone else tried to stay as far away from Fang Yan as possible. No one was willing to be misunderstood by the Jiang family's brothers as having a close relationship with Fang Yan. The encirclement that made Fang Yan feel slightly oppressed suddenly became a lot more relaxed. Fang Yan's heart also felt a lot more comfortable. He disliked the feeling of being the center of attention and being surrounded by countless people. He was just an ordinary teacher, not a superstar who lived under the spotlight all day. He liked a simple, monotonous life where he could bully others even if he wasn't bullied. General Xing didn't seem to notice the changes in the surrounding environment at all. He still looked at Fang Yan with enthusiasm and a hypocritical look that said, "We are good brothers and I won't harm you." He said to the guests who were watching, "Although I don't have much ability, I like to make friends with capable people the most. My younger brother Jiang Junling is recognized as a smart person by everyone. Even he suffered losses in the hands of Fang Yan, which proves that Brother Fang Yan is indeed outstanding and intelligent. Brother Fang, I came here because I want to be friends with you. I think you won't refuse, right?" "How could that be?" Fang Yan smiled happily, as if he was overwhelmed by the unexpected favor. "I am very willing to be friends with young Master Jiang." However, young Master Jiang has spoken about the matter between me and your younger brother in front of everyone. I have to explain here. The younger brother I am talking about is General Xing's younger brother. Didn't you say that I deliberately called General Xing's younger brother? If your younger brother knew about this, wouldn't he misunderstand that you were trying to sow discord? The smile on General Xing's face didn't change, but there was a murderous look in his eyes. Of course, that murderous look disappeared in a flash, and he instantly regained his calmness. This guy was really a vicious dog, biting people whenever he had the chance. Don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that you brothers don't get along. Fang Yan sincerely comforted General Xing, saying, in a family like yours, there are often conflicts between brothers, and even fights between swords often happen. It's all for the sake of benefits. In a big family with a big business, it's inevitable that there will be conflicts. It's understandable. Of course, I know that nothing like this will happen between you brothers. However, I think it's better for young Master Jiang to avoid arousing suspicion. You said that your younger brother was bullied by me in front of so many people. Isn't that embarrassing your younger brother? If I were your younger brother, I would definitely feel uncomfortable in my heart and have some other thoughts. I would misunderstand and think that my older brother wants to smear my reputation so that I can't have a foothold in the circle. In the end, the family would have no choice but to consider letting my older brother take charge. I'm young and narrow-minded. So, the things I think are more complicated. I hope young Master Jiang won't take it to heart. Fang Yan sneered in his heart. Want to play dirty? Want to kill with a borrowed knife without drawing blood? Stab with a knife while smiling? Who's afraid of who in this kind of thing? The two people engaged in a battle of words and swords, and the atmosphere at the scene became even more solemn. Everyone held their breath and quietly watched, waiting for the next development of the matter. Jiang Pingji was ashamed and angry, and he was about to cry. Didn't you say that you would avenge me? Didn't you say that you would support me? Why did the target change? Moreover, the whole matter seems to have nothing to do with me. General Xing laughed heartily, and it seemed that he was not affected by Fang Yan's words at all. He said, Brother Fang is really interesting. But I want to say that your worries are unnecessary. Jiang Junling and I are brothers of the same father and mother. I am the elder brother, and he is the younger brother. My younger brother is smarter than me, more capable than me, and more capable than me. Everyone in Yanjing City knows this, including me. So, he is responsible for making money to support the family, and I am responsible for picking leaves and flowers. Our pursuits are not the same. I'm very glad that I have such a smart and capable younger brother. Only in this way can I be an idle playboy without any pressure. General Xing reached out and held the woman in the white dress next to him in his arms and said, Beauty, don't you think so? The girl in the white dress blushed and said shyly, Not everyone can be a playboy like young Master. Besides, it's not like young Master has nothing to do. In my heart, you are a very successful man. What if? Fang Yan looked at General Xing with a smile and said, What if young Master Jiang is not willing to be a playboy and instead wants to learn from his younger brother to earn money to support the family? Brat, what are you saying? Li Guochang shouted. What are you? You dare to provoke the relationship between other brothers? That's right, gauging the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. We have been friends with Big Brother for so many years, how can we not know what kind of person Big Brother is? Lincoln, who wore a pair of small glasses with a tortoiseshell hat on the bridge of his nose, was full of anger. Brat, are you here to cause trouble? Why don't we go out and practice? This guy was a typical fighter. General Xing's younger brother was the first to cause trouble, and the hot-blooded youths of Swallow Dock were not to be outdone. What are you? Who was the first to provoke the relationship? Even an idiot can tell? Are you idiots? Wang Kaishuan's father's generation were all soldiers, so when he opened his mouth, sparks flew everywhere. Gauging the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain? These days, people's hearts are really not what they used to be. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry has the nerve to call themselves a gentleman. Your online name is Gentleman, right? If you don't put your face over, who would be willing to put in the effort to slap you? The hand that slaps the face also hurts. Yi Fengxing, this guy, was also a natural bastard, someone who would rather die than suffer a loss. If others scolded him once, he would scold them back 10 times. Even if the quality wasn't as good as others, the quantity was still far greater than the other. Everyone stopped talking. Who was the one who said to go out and practice? Whoever doesn't go is a grandson. The belligerent Zhu Ziden waved his hand and was about to make a move. Fighting with people from Swallow Dock? Was there something wrong with these people's brains? The younger brothers of both sides were busy fighting, but the leaders of both sides were still looking at each other with deep affection. General Xing looked at Fang Yan and said, I have no enmity, I just want to make friends. Not everyone is qualified to be my friend. I think so too. Fang Yan said. Everyone is qualified to be my friend, but most people didn't pass the test. When I make friends, I don't care about age or gender, I don't care about status or wealth, I only care about personality. When I make friends, I only care about congeniality. Some people make friends based on congeniality. The difference between the two is quite big. So, I belong to the group that didn't pass the test. General Xing asked with a smile. How could that be? Fang Yan shook his head and said, I didn't take the test at all. Everyone was silent. Fang Yan's words were too hurtful. Ordinary people still had a chance to take the test, but the young master of the general family, General Xing, didn't even have a chance to take the test. Even General Xing, who had a good temper, couldn't take it anymore. The smile on his face gradually disappeared, and he looked at Fang Yan with a gloomy expression. Everyone knew that as long as Jiang Junling gave the order, the bodyguards behind them would rush over and drag Fang Yan out of the venue. However, General Xing didn't do that. He looked at Fang Yan with sharp eyes and said, You are full of hostility towards me. Young Master General, why aren't you? Fang Yan said with a smile. You are a successful person, a respectable person, a gentleman, and a gentleman. You are good at digging a hole with a smile, good at stabbing a knife in the dark, and good at killing your opponent with a smile. I'm just a nobody. I don't have a strong family background, and I don't have a fortune that can rival a country's. I can't bring 8 or 10 bodyguards with me when I go out. I'm my own driver. I'm even able to stand here and participate in this famous charity gathering because of my friend's brother. I'm not dignified enough, but I'm real enough. I am not a gentleman, so I can be frank and direct. I don't have a gentleman's grace. Whoever dares to bully me, I will directly slap them back. Young Master General, those who can stand here are not idiots. Fang Yan looked at General Xing and said, Everyone knows that we can't be friends. Whether it is because of your background or because Jiang Junling is your brother, you can't treat me as a friend. However, I don't want to be a prop. A puppet used to smear your brother's name and damage his character and reputation. Because of what you said, I will fight with him to the death, and you will reap the benefits. So, forgive me for being more direct. Whether you can compete with your brother or not is a matter between you brothers. It has nothing to do with me. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.